A significant proclamation unveils the reality of multiple worlds. These realms host strange beings that can be summoned by the mighty. In a contemporary subway station, travelers remain oblivious to the world's transformation. The sound of heavy boots echoes on the platform, catching a commuter's eye. Out of nowhere, a knight clad in full armor appears in the subway. Meanwhile, children in a park stumble upon an unusual beetle-like creature. An office worker notices a strange floating orb outside his window. Daily, more enigmatic entities start to manifest across the city. Witnesses agree these figures often disappear almost instantly. A young student muses that back then, summoned beings had no place in the world. He steps forward with resolve, signaling the dawn of a new era. A large tusked creature and its smaller friend wish him a safe journey. A tiny winged creature praises the boy for his new school outfit. A varied assembly of fantastical beings gathers to bid him farewell. Another boy, accompanied by a small bear, hopes he has a fun day. An elderly octopus-like being calls out to the young man, Tokyo. Gramps points out that the boy has forgotten something crucial for his journey. He extends a bundle of cash, a gift for the young man. He explains that while it's not much, it's meant to support his new life. Tokyo is visibly moved by Gramps' unexpected kindness. From a high point, Gramps reminds Tokoyo of his special role as a human. The group gathers as Gramps elaborates on the varied fates of humans among the summoned. The mohawked man urges him to concentrate on himself, not to fret about others. Overcome with emotion, tears begin to form in the young man's eyes. He quickly wipes his eyes, readying himself for the journey ahead. As he dashes off, Tokoyo expresses gratitude and promises to return as a great summoner. He races through the twisting streets of the fantasy district where he grew up. A creature resembling an elephant cheerfully asks why he's dressed for school. A winged girl happily wishes him a good day as he moves along. He reflects on his abandonment as a child, unaware of his parents. He notes that the other students were all suddenly summoned from their own worlds. A friend with elven traits greets him, thrilled to hear he's becoming a summoner. He eagerly asks if Tokyo can summon the fruit he misses from home. Tokoyo's friends excitedly chat about importing goods from other worlds for profit. He realizes that becoming a summoner would finally let him fulfill their wishes. A warm, determined smile spreads across his face at the thought of helping them. His friends continue their playful debate about the profitability of various summoned items. An official announces the large industrial elevator's imminent departure. At a checkpoint, the same official instructs the diverse group to ready their permits. The horned girl presents her ID as the rules for entering human cities are outlined. After a quick verification, the official waves Tokyo and his friends through the gate. Inside the elevator, the group begins their rumbling ascent toward the human city of Tokyo. An automated voice warns of worldview changes, yet Tokyo remains focused. The elevator doors slide open, revealing the stunning sight of Tokyo's towering skyscrapers. On the street, Tokyo waves a final goodbye as his friends wish him luck. Now on his own, he stands among the bustling crowd, feeling small and alone. Taking a deep breath, he admits that being in a real city always makes him anxious. He gazes at the passers-by, overwhelmed by the sheer number of people around him. Gripping his backpack straps, he steels himself with the thought that he is human too. He resolves to adapt quickly to this overwhelming sensation as he walks down the sidewalk. He realizes this sprawling city is now his new home. In a nearby cafe, a barista expresses gratitude to customers for their patience while serving their drinks. With a bright smile, the cat-eared barista presents a large matcha cream frap. A serious man in a suit, Psyche, takes the drinks as she wishes him a pleasant day. A close-up reveals his fierce scowl, radiating irritation as he exhales sharply. He makes his way to an outdoor table where his two friends are seated. His long-haired friend, Makabe, cheerfully inquires about his mood, noticing the scowl. Makabe jests, questioning if he has once again messed up the coffee sizes. Psyche defensively states he has memorized that grande translates to medium. He hands the frap to the graceful blonde, Oho, who thanks him with a smile. Oho takes a sip and casually asks about the current situation in Tokyo. Seki brushes off the cat-eared barista as unoriginal while Makabe seems unfazed. Makabe points out the rising cultural impact of the summon, including their hit music abroad. He shares his enjoyment of their songs, pleased with their peaceful coexistence. Sayaki announces he has completed the setup for the device he was working on. Oho excitedly showcases a watch-like gadget, a product of her group's cutting-edge technology. A young blonde girl in a school uniform suddenly strikes a dramatic pose, fist raised high. Her two male friends react with wide-eyed shock and horror. She begins to loudly declare that the device on her wrist is a prototype from her company. Her bodyguards rush to silence her, urgently warning against discussing secret projects in public. The blonde young man, Seki, announces he will confiscate the device, calling it too risky. She protests indignantly, claiming the device is meant to prevent danger, not create it. Pointing at its display, she explains it identifies worldview distortions for her to avoid. Her bodyguards stand firm, insisting their protection is all she needs to stay safe. She argues that on school grounds, the device would enhance her safety even more. At that moment, the watch-like device on her wrist starts to vibrate and glow. Excitedly, she announces it has detected a strong distortion nearby. With a swift motion, she yanks her arm from Seki's grip and bolts away. Her long-haired guard scolds her for rushing toward the very danger she was meant to evade. As her frustrated friends chase after her, a dark-haired boy named Takoyo stands nearby, confused. He studies his map intently, anxious about being late for his school's entrance ceremony. His biggest wish is to start his new life as an ordinary, average human. A buzzing sound interrupts him as he contemplates the awkwardness of asking for directions. His thoughts are cut short by a new sound that captures his full attention. A public speaker announces a worldview warning for all citizens to hear. The announcement details a Level 3 expansion and implements traffic restrictions for safety. Takoyo realizes a worldview expansion is underway, and citizens must wait for a summoner. He frantically checks his map again as cars zoom past the affected area. With dawning dread, he realizes the distortion's location is the exact street he needs. His eyes widen with excitement at the thought of witnessing a real summoner. An overwhelming urge to experience the phenomenon for himself grips him. He arrives at a barricaded building where guards explain these events are the new norm. Inside, a grotesque plant monster looms over a terrified man banging on a locked door. Outside, soldiers state they cannot open the door as the worldview inside has completely shifted. A man explains that opening the door now would only exacerbate the dangerous expansion. The trapped civilian fears the violent potential of the summoned creature as a tendril approaches. An official's voice reassures someone that summoners are already en route to the scene. Seki is on the phone explaining that the sudden request will be challenging to fulfill. He confirms he is near the site with Oho, who smugly remarks that her device was spot on. The blonde woman, Oho, appears unimpressed, having expected a Level 3 incident to be more dramatic. Psyche, a young man with striking platinum hair, formally announces that no summoners are on hand. Oho, his upbeat friend, joyfully declares she's been given the green light to tackle the case. Without a moment's pause, Oho bolts off to address the issue, her two friends scrambling after her. From afar, Seki's voice rings out, commanding Oho to halt her advance. Elsewhere in the city, a student named Tokyo studies a map, trying to navigate his way. His expression brightens with relief as he realizes he's nearly at his goal. In a shadowy alley, a man's legs are ensnared by thick, pale vines. The frightened man, glasses askew, yells at an unseen beast to keep its distance. He frantically clicks a lighter, managing to ignite a small, flickering flame. His face twists in a final scream of sheer terror, pleading for the creature to go away. The student sneaker races across the pavement, driven and purposeful. Takoyo continues his sprint toward the restricted area. Upon reaching the scene, Tokyo breathes a sigh of relief at his timely arrival. Suddenly, something catches his eye and his expression shifts to surprise. Oho, drink in hand, turns her head with a curious look. A colossal explosion erupts as the plant monster crashes through a building's wall. The monstrous entity emits a thunderous guttural roar. Oho and Takoyo stare in disbelief as Seki and his partner arrive, looking serious. Now fully free, the monster towers over the street while soldiers observe. A close-up reveals the smoldering, fiery tip of one of its tendrils. Takoyo's eye mirrors the horror and chaos of the scene unfolding. Seki tightens his gloved fist, asserting they need to neutralize the threat. Suddenly, Tokyo charges forward, sprinting straight toward the rampaging beast. Saki exclaims in surprise as Tokyo rushes past him toward the creature. The plant monster roars, its tendrils flailing wildly in the air. Soldiers brace themselves as a powerful tendril crashes into the ground nearby. The soldiers open fire, their bullets sparking ineffectively against the creature's hide. A massive tendril sweeps through the air, targeting one of the soldiers. Tokoyo intervenes, swiftly knocking a soldier's rifle aside. The soldier looks up, utterly shocked and confused by Tokoyo's action. Tokoyo shouts for them to cease fire, warning it will only anger the beast. Turning to the soldiers, he confidently instructs them to let him handle it. Ignoring their protest, Tokyo leaps into the air with a powerful bound. A soldier's eyes widen in disbelief at the student's astonishing jump. From above, Tokyo glides toward the monster as the soldiers watch in confusion. He lands firmly on the creature's head, wrapping his arms around its central bud. With a compassionate look, he gently tells the creature to calm down. The soldiers are baffled, one calling him a foolish kid, but they are ordered to halt. Seki rushes forward, clarifying to the bewildered soldier that Tokyo is a civilian. He watches closely, questioning how an ordinary human could achieve such a feat. The monster bucks violently, tossing Tokoyo into an acrobatic flip. He is hurled through the air by the creature's fierce thrashing. A tendril catches him, slamming him brutally against the side of a building. Seki's face is a mask of utter shock at the violent collision. Oho and her long-haired friend are equally horrified by the savage assault. The monster relentlessly slams Tokoyo against the building's facade. The onslaught continues, shattering windows and concrete with repeated blows. Tokyo's body is tossed back and forth by the creature's powerful tendrils. A final, forceful slam sends a shockwave of debris flying through the air. Oho's long-haired companion shouts at Seki to assist, but Seki stands frozen. The man with long hair yells in exasperation, urging Seki to take action. Oho watches in disbelief, certain that no one could survive such a brutal assault. Incredibly, Tokyo remains on the creature's head, softly comforting it. Saki and the soldiers are left speechless as Tokyo reassures them the creature is fine. Oho and her friend are left dumbfounded, their expressions reflecting pure astonishment. Perched on the subdued beast, Tokyo pleads with the soldiers to stop harming it. He apologizes awkwardly for the destruction caused in the city. With an awkward smile, he laments his efforts to avoid drawing attention. A thought bubble reveals his inner turmoil about his failed attempt to fit in. Saiki, his face expressionless, commands Tokoyo to dismount. He recognizes Tokoyo's outfit as that of the Summoning Academy. Tokoyo cheerfully introduces himself, stating he's starting school today. Sakizu's sharp gaze comments that Tokyo must be the one everyone talks about. Perplexed, Tokyo asks what rumor Seki is alluding to. Seki presses for an explanation on how Tokyo knew the plant would calm down. Tokoyo explains he noticed the creature was ablaze when it appeared. A close-up reveals the lighter dropped by the frightened man. Tokoyo concludes that someone must have ignited the creature. He realizes its cries were not threats, but rather cries of pain and fear. Seki listens intently, absorbing the explanation with a composed demeanor. Without warning, Saiki delivers a brutal punch to Tokoyo's face. Tokoyo stumbles back, utterly stunned by the unexpected hit. Rubbing his cheek, Tokyo demands to know the reason for the punch. Seki coolly explains he wanted to see if Tokyo could actually feel pain. His eyes narrow as he prepares to share some harsh truths. He delivers a crushing verdict. Tokyo will never be a summoner. Tokoyo protests, but Seki brushes him off, claiming his mindset is all wrong. Sekis's gloved hand pulses with an unusual energy as he recalls something. He expresses gratitude to Koyo, admitting that halting the rampage eased his task. In one smooth motion, Sayaki unsheathes a shining katana, his voice resonating with authority. Tokoyo's mind races, grappling with the shocking reality about the man. He realizes with growing dread that this man is a genuine summoner. Seki calmly states the name of his technique, Disillusion Blade Hagenbana. With a single swift motion, the monster's tendrils are cut and fall away. Tokyo stares in wide-eyed disbelief at the sudden, brutal execution. He collapses to his knees before the lifeless body of the vanquished creature. Saiki stands over the aftermath, explaining this is the true nature of summoners. Tokoyo whispers in horrified denial, struggling to accept the grim truth. Seki questions Tokoyo's intentions, asking what he planned to do with the creature. He highlights the futility of trying to protect such a massive, dangerous being. He asserts that any summoned entity that harms humans will be eliminated. Tokoyo clenches his fist, arguing that the creature didn't choose to be there. He insists it was an accident caused by a distortion in space. Seki's expression remains icy as he states it was no mere accident. He reveals that the creature was summoned on purpose, making it a crime. Taking a call, he mentions that such incidents have been rising lately. Tokoyo desperately calls out, demanding to know what he means. Seki tells him he can learn more details once he arrives at school. Left alone, Tokyo's expression is one of confusion and dawning horror. Amidst the remains of the defeated creature, he realizes he knows nothing. A young man contemplates his lack of knowledge about the city and its summoners. He is overwhelmed by thoughts of what comes next after he becomes one. A memory of a younger, eager Tokoyo with a plan resurfaces. He enthusiastically tells his summoned family he'll bring them everything from their realms. Coyote promises to summon it all, whether beautiful or ugly, for sharing. Gramps, his octopus-like guardian, observes that this idea brings them happiness. The boy watches in confusion as Gramps keeps talking. Gramps shares his appreciation for the young man's kind-hearted nature. He then warns Tokoyo to maintain distance from the summoned. In the present, Tokoyo finally grasps the significance of that day's caution. He understands that his aspirations are far more intricate than he thought. Gazing at the city, he vows to serve both humans and the summoned. Unseen, Akira Shirashino and her guards, Makabe and Siki, observe him. The boy stands solitary, surrounded by personnel clearing the battle's remnants. In his grasp, a small wooden charm vibrates with an unusual dormant energy. Makabe watches with concern, addressing his young charge, Oho. Kira observes the distant student with a serious, inscrutable expression. Her bodyguard advises her to keep her distance from that student. She turns to him, questioning the reason behind his warning. He struggles to articulate, saying that Tokyo exists in a different realm. McCabe confesses that the boy's perspective unsettles and frightens him. A breathtaking view of the expansive Summoning Academy campus unfolds. Makabe concludes that Tokyo stands out as the most unique among all students. He suddenly realizes he has been voicing his thoughts aloud. Tokyo is seen conversing with the armed guards present at the scene. Akiru playfully assures her bodyguards she will keep her distance from him. The elegant sign for the Tokyo Summoning High School Academy comes into view. Tokyo arrives at the grand ornate gate of his new educational institution. A student volunteer hands him a brochure about the academy. His heart races with excitement as he clutches the pamphlet. Taking a resolute step forward, he senses his new life is commencing. He gazes in wonder at the vast campus, his first step toward becoming a summoner. Overwhelmed by its splendor, he notes how all the human students appear identical. As he strolls through the lively school grounds, a young man steels himself. Tokoyo resolves to adapt quickly to this new and daunting environment. Suddenly, another student catches his attention, urging him to look ahead. A trio approaches, led by a blonde girl flanked by two formidable bodyguards. A nearby student with glasses whispers the girl's name, Shirashino, in astonishment. Other students murmur among themselves, recognizing her ties to the influential Shirashino group. A close-up reveals her full name, Akeru Shoshino, radiating charisma. Tokoyo realizes with a jolt that the rumors of her enrollment this year were accurate. His eyes widen as he recognizes the girl from a previous chaotic encounter. Watching from the crowd, he overhears others commenting on her beauty and her guards. In that instant, Shirashino glances his way with a cool, assessing gaze. The brief eye contact sends Tokyo's heart racing, a deep blush creeping across his face. He finds her current demeanor strikingly different from their last encounter. Her bodyguards quietly discuss how she adopts a refined lady persona on campus. Shirashino formally addresses her guard, Sayaki, who mentions this is where they part. She is advised to check the class listings before heading to her classroom. With a cheerful wave, she bids her two companions goodbye for the day. Makabe, her other guard, anxiously urges her to steer clear of a particular student. With a cheeky wink and a peace sign, she brushes off his worries. Seki stands next to the still nervous Makabe, his demeanor calm and composed. He tells his partner to let it go, knowing that restrictions will only spark her curiosity. Seki confidently assures him that the student's journey will keep him distant from their charge, and illustrations display a range of items that symbolize the category of object summoning. Tokoyo examines a brochure, discovering that summoning is categorized into 4 primary types. One panel illustrates the devastating elemental force of environmental summoning. Another showcases various monstrous beings representing biological summoning. Abstract shapes float, evading representation of dimension summoning. Tokoyo resolves to concentrate on object summoning out of the 4 options. His ultimate aim is to conjure food and items for his friends in the fantasy district. He stands before the bustling bulletin board contemplating the major he enrolled in. A wave of dread washes over him as he realizes his name is absent from the lifestyles list. Cherishino then approaches an administrator, introducing herself as an economics major. The administrator beams, reassuring the well-known heiress that she recognizes her. With a friendly smile, a blonde girl expresses her desire to switch to the Special Forces. Her request sends a ripple of shock through the nearby students. The school administrator, taken aback, questions if she misheard the girl's unexpected declaration. The girl calmly reiterates her intention to transfer into the rigorous Special Forces class. She reminds the administrator that any willing student can attempt the course. A dark-haired boy named Tokyo observes how she has once again captivated everyone's attention. The administrator cautions that the class is extremely perilous and emphasizes practical experience. The girl's demeanor shifts to serious, challenging the administrator's suggestion about her capability. Intimidated by her unwavering confidence, the administrator falls silent, looking weary. The girl then firmly instructs the woman to add her name to the Special Forces roster. Her piercing gaze defies the stereotype that a frail young lady can't succeed. Other students murmur in disbelief while Takoyo ponders the notorious Special Forces. His gaze lands on the class list, where he spots his own name, Tokuyo Suda. The realization washes over him, his face contorting in sheer, unfiltered horror. He rushes to the desk, stammering about a grave error. The boy nervously introduces himself to the administrator, highlighting his name on the list. The administrator acknowledges him as Tokuyo-kun, while the blonde girl observes from the side. She reveals that his enrollment was contingent on him joining the Special Forces. He protests, explaining he intended to major in lifestyles, but she brushes off his argument. Adjusting her glasses, she bluntly tells him he now has only two choices. He can either abandon the academy or enroll in the intimidating Special Forces classroom. Inside the room, two students with intimidating mohawks stand with unfriendly expressions. A large, stern-faced student and a smaller one in a beanie silently observe the others. A stylish girl with a flower in her hair casually applies makeup from a compact. A calm, attractive blonde boy reads a book, seemingly indifferent to the surrounding chaos. As Tokyo stares in awe, an intense-looking student captures his attention. The student, Kohli, tells the newcomer not to block the doorway. Takoyo apologizes meekly as the student brushes past him into the classroom. He stands at the entrance, nervously questioning what's up with this strange group. A familiar voice greets him, asking if he thinks he's in the wrong room. The blonde girl confirms her suspicion that they would end up in the same class. Tokyo recognizes her as Shirashino, who tells him to drop the formalities. She clarifies for the utterly baffled boy that this is the Special Combat Forces class. In a school hallway, a startled Takalo is questioned about his presence earlier that morning. Shirashino reveals that terrorists are persistently attempting to shatter the city's perspective. Her fist tightens, indicating that Special Forces were established to combat these villains. With a surge of enthusiasm, she proclaims their class is a hands-on course for training anti-summoners. Takoyo stands in shock, repeating the term anti-summoners in sheer disbelief. Her serious expression suddenly breaks as she covers her mouth, overwhelmed with joy. Breathless, she exclaims that uttering the words sent shivers down her spine. Her moment has finally arrived. A quick flashback shows her suffering from toiling over unwanted economic studies for her family. She believes today marks the beginning of her reward and the start of her legend. With her hands together, she asserts that nothing can hinder her now. Takoyo observes her, bewildered, a bead of sweat trickling down his face. He reflects that she seems drastically different from her earlier self. A blonde student with glasses scoffs, questioning who she thinks she's fooling with her bold claims. He and his friends tell the naive princess to scram before she gets hurt. Chirashino's expression turns icy as she demands to know what the commoners just said. The group bursts into loud laughter, finding her use of plebs utterly hilarious. Takoyo watches the tense standoff, his face betraying no emotion. Shirashino blushes, admitting to herself that their teasing is actually quite amusing. The blonde student's amusement fades, replaced by a sharp, irritated glare. He shifts his aggressive focus to Takoyo, demanding if he has something to say. Tokyo calmly replies that he only came to this classroom because he was instructed to. The student leans in menacingly, threatening to turn Takoyo's face into a bloody mess. Suddenly, the entire classroom begins to shake violently, warping around the students. The bullies panic, questioning what is happening to their surroundings. Tokyo's eyes widen in shock as he recognizes the bizarre phenomenon unfolding. Other students shout that a worldview distortion is occurring and they need to evacuate immediately. As Tokyo turns to escape, Shirachino firmly grips his arm, halting him. He glances back at her, surprised by her simple command to stay put. She explains that a true summoner must not fear distortions. It's their duty to mend them. As chaos envelops them, she declares they are undergoing a test. Tokoyo, eyes wide with confusion, asks what she means by a test. The classroom continues to dissolve into abstract, swirling forms. She clarifies that a distortion will always summon something from beyond this world. The students are instantly transported, gazing around the new dark landscape in shock. A ragtag group of tough-looking students stands together in the strange, unfamiliar setting. An intense student with spiky black hair crosses his arms, calmly evaluating the situation. Takuyo surveys the dark, rustling landscape, pondering what this place could be. Shiroshino calmly instructs him to relax, identifying the event as dimension summoning. He repeats the term in disbelief as a flock of birds erupts from the nearby trees. Shiroshino's heart races as she realizes they are no longer in the real world. She clasps her hands to her face in awe, while Tokyo asks if she understands what's happening. He recounts that someone must have warped the space in their classroom. Shiroshino finishes his thought, squealing with excitement that they summoned an entirely different world. A cheerful voice calls out from above, capturing the attention of the entire class. A strange winged creature with a single horn bounces into view, introducing itself as their teacher. It asks the students if they are disappointed by its sudden and bizarre appearance. The creature explains that their real sensei dislikes humans and won't meet them just yet. It adds that what truly annoys the sensei are weak humans, as a hand bursts from the ground. A zombie-like creature claws its way out of the earth as the creature declares that weaklings are unwelcome. With a manic grin, it explains that this is their method of screening for the best and strongest students. A horde of zombies rises from the graves, and the creature announces the main condition of the test. A colossal, otherworldly door emerges from the ground, resonating with a powerful sound. The creature reassures the students, telling them not to fret if they feel the urge to leave. It clarifies that they can exit through the door anytime they sense danger. With the explanations complete, it cheerfully instructs the students to start the test. Tokoyo remains puzzled about the screening, prompting Shiroshino to question his attentiveness. The student with spiky hair calmly reiterates that they are being evaluated as his hand begins to glow. Focusing intently, he commands the world to open and unleash his power. A forceful blast erupts from his hand, sending a zombie hurtling backward. Tokoyo watches in sheer astonishment at the sudden powerful display of summoning. Shiroshino observes her classmates, a look of realization dawning on her face. The blonde student who had tormented them earlier readies his own attack, smirking confidently. A girl adorned with a flower in her hair also prepares for battle, her hand glowing with energy. Several other intimidating students channel their own otherworldly powers, gearing up for combat. Another student delivers a powerful kick, effortlessly taking down a zombie from the horde. The graveyard transforms into a chaotic battleground as students clash with the undead. Shiroshino decides it's her moment to shine while Tokyo watches in disbelief. Tokoyo reflects that this feels just like the past. The blonde student from the cafe recalls the previous incident, his expression turning serious. Tokyo, startled by her unusual gesture, inquires what Shiroshino is doing with her hand. She glances back at him, puzzled, asking if he can't figure out her actions. Her hand vibrates with energy as she explains that she's altering her own perception. Tokoyo is taken aback, questioning how she can possibly change her own perception. She clarifies that this is the fundamental method for performing a summon. She forms a swirling distortion between her thumb and forefinger to look through. With a surge of energy, she summons an item from one of the countless other worlds. An ordinary rock appears in her hand, which she flicks forward like a projectile. The rock crashes through a zombie's head with a sickening, explosive impact. She observes with a cool, confident demeanor, having propelled the simple rock with great force. Tokoyo can only gawk, dumbfounded, wondering if it was truly just a rock. Shiroshino stands over the twitching zombie, confirming that she indeed summoned a rock. Tokoyo struggles to comprehend the astonishing yet seemingly simple feat he just witnessed. Shiroshino smiles, reminding him that he'll need to master simple tasks like this. She walks away, stating that this is essential for survival in the Special Forces. The name of their class, the Special Combat Forces, is pronounced with finality. Tokyo watches her depart, his face filled with anxiety and uncertainty. The class is revealed to be a training ground for summoners specializing in combat. Another student struggles with his summoning, desperately asking where his rock is. Frustrated and defeated, he storms toward the exit, abandoning the test entirely. Tokyo mimics Shirashino's hand gesture, a bead of sweat trickling down his face. The small unicorn creature cheerfully observes that students are dropping out of the test like flies. Tokoyo's eyes narrow with resolve. He knows he must succeed. He vows to thrive in this hostile setting, as failure means expulsion from the academy. He clenches his fist, fingers trembling with the strain of concentration. His face contorts comically as he desperately attempts to summon something. He pants, admitting he can't manage it. It's not as simple as it appears. A zombie approaches from behind as he wonders if there's a trick to this. He acknowledges that he can't figure out what that trick could possibly be. His eyes widen in alarm as he finally notices the looming threat. From afar, Shirashino spots the danger and urgently calls out his name in panic. He grabs the zombie's head, urging her to look at this as she screams in horror. Tokyo holds a severed zombie head, calmly reassuring a horrified Shirashino. He pries open its mouth, exposing the fact that its teeth are missing. Shirachino stares in utter disbelief, bewildered by his bizarre behavior. As Tokyo reveals his discovery, another zombie lurches up from behind. Suddenly, the creature's hands latch onto Shirachino's leg from the ground. Tokyo observes that this new zombie resembles the first one. In a swift, brutal motion, he slams the head into the attacking zombie. Shirachino's face twists into a comically shocked expression. He crouches down, forcing the second zombie's mouth open for a closer look. He points out its toothlessness, reinforcing his theory. A flustered Shirashino demands to understand his point. Tokyo deduces she was attacking from a distance due to fear. He concludes that without teeth, the zombies pose no real threat. He suggests they inform everyone to stop hurling rocks at them. Shirashino, confused, asks how else they are meant to defeat them. Tokyo looks at her, genuinely puzzled by her inquiry. He realizes the others aren't forced, but rather eager to fight the zombies. Disgusted, Shirashino pleads with him to remove the zombie head. A look of dawning comprehension spreads across Tokyo's face. He wonders if no one knows how to alleviate their suffering. He announces that the solution is straightforward and prepares to demonstrate. Shirashino watches, caught between apprehension and morbid curiosity. He confidently offers to show everyone the correct method. Admitting he can't summon, he claims he can win using a pen. He swiftly plunges the pen directly into a zombie's temple. Shirashino grimaces as he explains that a slight twist is also necessary. The zombie collapses, and he calmly declares the task finished. With her eye twitching, Shirashino starts to grasp his peculiar logic. With a gentle smile, he invites her to try his unconventional method. As he demonstrates again, a stern student warns Shirashino to keep his distance. The other students watch in shock as he explains his compassionate technique. His method, he claims, ensures neither side has to endure for long. He moves with surprising agility, dispatching creatures with precise, efficient strikes. With focused intensity, the young student drives a simple pen into a zombie's head. In a fluid, continuous motion, he takes down multiple zombies with swift, precise strikes. Leaping over the grotesque horde, he views the world through a chillingly unique lens. The small horned creature assigned to observe them begins to panic at the sight. Realizing the situation is critical, it quickly makes an urgent call for help. His classmates, including a stunned Shirashino, are left utterly speechless by his actions. The entire class stands frozen, unable to process the bizarre, violent display. Amid the chaos, the boy's smartphone vibrates with an incoming call. Pausing his grim task, he calmly excuses himself to take his partner's call. The scene transitions to a different, more formal setting, far from the conflict. In an opulent room, a man steps away from his companions to answer a call. Standing before a collection of peculiar artifacts, he casually picks up his phone. His companion clarifies that he wasn't trying to conceal his actions from them. The long-haired man deduces that his associate has been colluding with the Special Forces instructor. On the other end, the teacher feigns surprise at the revelation. With a charming smile, he explains he must leave to address the student's disturbance. Waving goodbye, he cheerfully departs, leaving his companions to their cake. The last man exhales, grateful that they can finally take a breather. He reassures his companion that the Oho remains untouched by the Special Forces. In the graveyard, Tokoyo stands solitary, destined to inhabit another realm. Shirashino stares in shock, questioning if he has truly vanquished them all. Nearby, a student with wild, spiky hair lets out a quiet, knowing scoff. The magnitude of his achievement becomes clear, a vast expanse littered with fallen zombies. Shiroshino swallows hard, pondering the true essence of this enigmatic boy. The overwhelming count of defeated zombies is impressive, showcasing his unusual efficiency. He pulled off this remarkable feat solo, armed with nothing but a single pen. The stillness shatters with the slow, deliberate sound of clapping. The spiky-haired student approaches, acknowledging his remarkable feat and asking for his name. A heavy silence lingers between the two students. Looking a bit flustered, the boy introduces himself as Tokyo. The spiky-haired student stands firm, exuding confidence in his stance. He expresses gratitude for the lesson on efficiently dispatching zombies. His appreciation fades, replaced by a sharp inquiry about the test's real intent. Tokyo gazes on, confused, questioning the actual goal of their examination. An intense young man, Kaido, begins to lay out the harsh truths of the exam. He clarifies that it was a test of endurance, not merely a zombie-slaying contest. The test gauged their mental fortitude, but Kaido accuses Tokoyo of ruining it entirely. Tokoyo stands speechless and sweating as Kaido prepares to present his evidence. Kaido gestures to the entire class, highlighting that many who should have failed remain. One student angrily confronts Kaido for his arrogance, but a classmate quickly restrains him. The bespectacled classmate nervously cautions his friend against provoking Kaido. A powerful aura envelops Kaido as he asserts that he too knows how to eliminate zombies. His hand ignites in flames as he commands the world to yield to his summon. He unleashes a fierce attack, shouting its name, Fire Road. The wave of fire surges past a stunned Tokoyo, heading straight for the fallen zombies. Tokyo watches in wide-eyed terror as the flames completely consume the lifeless bodies. Amidst the ashes, the formidable student calmly introduces himself as Tsubasa Kaido. The other students recognize him as the top scorer from the entrance exam. A classmate confirms that Kaido's scores were far beyond everyone else's. Yet Tokoyo gazes at him with a bright, admiring smile, utterly unfazed. As the zombies burn, Kaido asks if Tokyo finally grasps the lesson. Tokoyo approaches him, praising his incredible summoning and expressing heartfelt thanks. Completely taken aback by this response, Kaido can only question what he just heard. Tokoyo earnestly explains he was trying to find a respectful way to bury the zombies. He admits he felt responsible for the mess and didn't want to ask for assistance. Tokoyo confesses he never considered summoning as a way to cremate them all. With a blushing, innocent grin, he concludes that Kaido must be a genuinely nice guy. A vein throbs at Kaido's temple as his composure finally unravels. He violently yanks Koyo up by his collar, his face twisted in pure fury. Kaido growls, accusing Tokyo of failing to comprehend a single word he uttered. He lectures the boy, declaring that doing things his own way is intolerable. The other elite students observe as Kaido brands Tokyo a nuisance to the Summoning Academy. Leaning in closely, Kaido asserts that Tokyo is unfit to be among them. A sudden booming laugh resonates from the flames, interrupting their confrontation. Kaido looks up, startled, his grip on Tokyo's collar still unyielding. A shadowy figure stumbles out of the blaze, ready to make an entrance. 3 students observe an unseen event, with one boy commenting that their wait was short. From the flames, a cloaked figure steps forward, proclaiming he alone will determine their worth. With a theatrical leap, he makes a grand entrance, introducing himself as their instructor, Inumakura Sensei. The entire class, including Kaido and Tokyo, stands in stunned silence at his strange arrival. Sensei clarifies that while summoning is allowed, they are overlooking its fundamental essence. He describes distortions as the force that brings forth entities from alternate realms. He reveals that the real aim of their exam was to evaluate their flexibility. A sharp clap from him signals a shift back to a more serious atmosphere. Now in a classroom, Sensei stands at the front, prepared to resume his lesson. Koyo and a frustrated Kaido pay close attention to the teacher's evaluation after the test. Shirashino and the other students stand ready, eager for their teacher's next remarks. He praises their bravery in confronting the zombies without a hint of fear. Kaido shoots him a sharp, annoyed look, clearly unhappy with how things turned out. Sensei expresses surprise at the number of students who passed, far exceeding his expectations. Tokoyo watches as the teacher reassures them that this unexpected result is not a problem. With a confident grin, Sensei reveals he has a plan ready to go. He announces that from tomorrow, students will pair up for all their assignments. The students, including Shiro, Shino, and Tokoyo, murmur among themselves about this new arrangement. Kaido realizes the seriousness of the situation, aware that their class is risky and hands-on. Other students acknowledge their understanding of the Special Forces class's intent. This combat-oriented class aims to prepare them as anti-summoners. Sensei explains that pro-summoners typically work in pairs, making them easier to monitor. His small companion adds that partners should compensate for each other's weaknesses. Tokyo anxiously considers the daunting challenge of finding a partner. Sensei instructs them to seek out a classmate they can collaborate with effectively. With his instructions complete, he dismisses the class, allowing them to choose. Instantly, the classroom buzzes with chatter as students start forming their teams. Various groups quickly pair off, leaving a few students without partners. Tokuyo and Shiroshino find themselves standing alone, separated from their classmates. A loud rejection reverberates off the side of the school building. Tokuyo nervously attempts to persuade Shiroshino, pointing out their success against the zombies. She angrily counters his words, reminding him their teamwork will be officially judged. Demanding he back off, she insists that every aspect of his suggestion is terrible. Shirashino's gaze is suddenly drawn to the only other girl in their class. A fashionable girl with an asymmetrical haircut voices her contempt for the situation. She tells a shocked Shiroshino that she has already secured a partner. Her chosen partner, the quiet girl with glasses, nods in agreement. Shirashino, looking confused, wonders if she even recognized the other girl in class. A large, serious student is seen politely turning down a teaming offer. Meanwhile, another student decisively points to his chosen partner, finalizing their pairing. Two boys sporting mohawks aggressively finalize their own partnership. With no other options, Shirashino crawls over to Tokuyo, resigning herself to their team. Later, she sits on a bench, her expression a blank mask of despair. Tokuyo observes her, thinking she has sunk into an abyss from the shock. He kindly offers her a bottle of green tea he purchased for her. Numbly, she accepts the drink, gulping it down with wide, vacant eyes. He watches her with concern, thinking about how painful this must be for her. Tokuyo concludes that her dislike for him has turned her into a hollow shell. He wonders if he did something wrong, recalling Kaido's harsh criticism. He realizes his mistake stemmed from not grasping the exam's true intent. A new group of students arrives, their leader mockingly addressing the leftover duo. He quips if Kaido also had a harsh verdict for Tokyo. Tokuyo glances up, recognizing the taunting blonde boy. The boy identifies himself as Takashi Abusawa, insisting Tokuyo keep her distance. He demands to be addressed as Abusawa-san, emphasizing his superiority. Noticing Tokuyo's bewilderment, he shares a vital detail. Abusawa elaborates on a strict rule specific to their Special Forces class. Those who commit unforgivable errors face judgment from both peers and instructors. The final outcome of this judgment? Expulsion from the class. Tokuyo is left utterly stunned by the threat of being kicked out. Abusawa gleefully mentions that the partner shares the blame. He chuckles at the thought of Princess Shirashino being expelled due to Tokuyo. The heavy burden of this responsibility weighs down on Tokuyo. He realizes Shirashino is also in jeopardy, prompting her soft laugh. In an instant, Shirashino's expression shifts, her eyes burning with fury. Abusawa and his friends are taken aback by her fierce response. She recalls the teacher's advice about adapting to impossible situations. A blonde girl passionately argues that their teacher evaluated adaptation during the test. Clutching her classmate's jacket, she insists it wasn't top-ranked Kaido who triumphed. With a powerful shout, she proclaims that Tokuyo truly excelled. Completely taken aback by her defense, Tokuyo stares in wide-eyed disbelief. A smug student named Abusawa arrives, condescendingly offering to hear their grievances. He scoffs in irritation when the duo remains silent and defiant. As he turns to leave, Abusawa tells them to enjoy their ignorant little bubble. With a cruel grin, he predicts their eventual expulsion. He laughs dryly, eager for a class that truly demands summoning expertise. Once they're alone, Tokuyo shyly begins to express gratitude to Shirashino, who sharply interrupts. She quickly cautions him not to misinterpret her sudden defense. Shirashino acknowledges that his natural grasp of other worlds is a valuable asset. It's a skill, she clarifies, that will be essential for their upcoming lessons. Tokuyo observes, still trying to grasp the new dynamics of their unusual partnership. He realizes his earlier assumptions about the academy were misguided, bringing him relief. He now comprehends that his classmates are seasoned summoners here to train. Shirashino vents her annoyance at being seen as a spoiled, uncooperative princess. Embracing their underdog status, she vows to succeed by any means necessary. Suddenly, her phone buzzes, vibrating with an urgent incoming call. In a dimly lit office, a man named Makura quickly answers the call. Cherishino discreetly requests a distortion release kit from the lab for the next day. She also asks for a variety of control and stabilization pills for one individual. She emphasizes the mission's confidentiality, warning him to keep it from Seiki and Makabe. Makura acknowledges her request, assuring her he will take care of it. After the call, a puzzled Takoyo inquires about what just happened. Shirashino turns to him with a small, knowing smile, congratulating her partner. She then unveils her ambitious plan to grant him summoning abilities. Her approach involves breaking school rules on their very first day. She explains they will employ an illicit method known as distortion doping. As the school bell rings, Takoyo looks utterly astonished by her reckless idea. The scene transitions to the esteemed Summoning Academy, where their adventure begins. The modern arched architecture of the school building towers against the sky. Inside a crowded auditorium, she announces her call for the new student representative to speak. Tuba Sakaido is introduced as a student speaker, striding confidently through the applauding crowd. During the entrance ceremony at the Summoning Academy, Takoyo and his classmates applaud the speaker. Anxiety washes over him as he wonders if his scheme will be straightforward. On the stage, Tsubasa Kaido, the student representative, discusses the perilous journey of summoning. He stresses with fierce intensity that their abilities were hard-won through relentless effort. In the crowd, guilt overwhelms Takoyo, making him feel like a fraud among his peers. Shirashino, his ally, firmly cautions him to keep their plan under wraps, or they're both doomed. Later, outside, he shares his uncertainties, but she reminds him that backing out means expulsion. He desperately proposes that there might be other classes unrelated to summoning he could attend. With a tired expression, she questions if he's forgotten what kind of academy this truly is. She insists he can't escape his obligations forever. Time is running out. He pleads with her to at least describe the sensation of releasing a distortion, vowing to give it a shot. She clarifies that everyone possesses hidden distortions, but it's not something that can be easily practiced. As she talks about unlocking these powers, her hand starts to tremble. Suddenly, a colossal surge of energy bursts from her, tearing through the air as Takoyo stares in disbelief. Her face twists in a scream of panic as she exclaims that something bizarre is happening to her. Takoyo yells her name, his expression a mix of sheer terror and worry. The chaotic energy abruptly halts, leaving her standing still and composed. With a sharp clap, she reveals that the spectacle was merely an illusion designed to rattle his senses. As students exit the ceremony, she explains he needs that experience to master his abilities. A sudden realization dawns on Takoyo about the other students. He realizes that every individual at the academy must have gone through something similar. An instructor dismisses the students, instructing them to head back to their dorms to prepare for class. As he walks down the dorm corridor, Takoyo ponders the need for a reality-altering experience. He locates his room, number 205, still mulling over what summoning must feel like. With a sigh of relief, he expresses gratitude for finding his dorm without getting lost. He opens the unlocked door, determined to embrace a normal life. A pair of neatly arranged shoes inside indicates that his roommate has already settled in. Suddenly, he remembers he's supposed to share the room with someone. His roommate's voice confirms his presence and mentions that a bed has already been taken. The roommate turns around, revealing himself to be the intense student representative, Tsubasa Kaido. Kido glares at him, clearly annoyed, questioning if this is some sort of joke. Takoyo grips his face in horror, realizing this situation is unreal. A wide shot of Takoyo illustrates the expansion of the daily worldview due to summoning events. In a rundown hallway, a shadowy figure stands with an outstretched hand, strange energy swirling around him. A small teapot-like creature with a face appears in his palm with a gentle puff of smoke. As the creature releases a mist, the figure stumbles back, contemplating a common human longing. A dark-haired instructor reflects on the universal desire for the world to expand even further. Descending the stairs, he tells his colleagues that people always crave more convenient items from other realms. He believes the students at their academy share this same yearning for extraordinary abilities. His stern, blonde companion warns that recklessly summoning things will only disrupt the world's balance. The instructor acknowledges this point, recognizing his role is to teach students about reality. However, he speculates that the recent summoning incidents arise from a sense of suffocation. He concludes that this feeling stems from a deep-rooted desire for the world to transcend its boundaries. The scene shifts to a dorm room where Takashi Abusawa yells at his roommate for lacking gratitude. Takoyo, his new roommate, grips his bag, finding Takashi's aggressive demands overwhelming. When Takoyo asks to use the bathroom, Takashi refuses, suggesting the hall or water fountain instead. He angrily orders Takoyo to stay behind the room divider after the boy questions his meanness. Takoyo innocently asks if Takashi treats everyone this way, who insists on being called Abusa-wa-san. Takashi admits his hostility only began after realizing who his roommate was, furious at his mere presence. Takoyo inquires if he's not his type, but Takashi tells him not to make things sound strange. His fury surfaces as he questions how a simple country boy got close to a princess. Tokyo stands behind the divider, eyes wide, caught between confusion and intrigue. He inquires if Takashi is referring to Shirashino-san, triggering a passionate rant about her being the school's hottest. Takoyo is utterly perplexed by his roommate's abrupt and fervent shift in attitude. Blushing and flustered, Takashi stutters a denial as Takoyo points out his clear feelings. He starts projecting his own desires, imagining Shirashino's legs while showering. The vision persists as he accuses Takoyo of harboring the same hidden intentions he does. He adjusts his glasses, obsessively detailing her figure, claiming no man could resist her allure. Takoyo is simply baffled by this strange and intense direction the conversation has taken. He innocently asks if Takashi has feelings for Shirashino-san, prompting a vehement denial. Takuyo concedes she is attractive, which Takashi misreads as him being charmed by her. He asserts this proves Tokyo lacks the seriousness and pride required for the special forces. With a final dismissive wave, he orders Takoyo to never speak to him again. Takoyo observes, a quiet realization dawning as he understands the trivial reason behind the animosity. Meanwhile, Shirashino steps out of her shower, pondering how others truly see her. Her expression freezes in annoyance as she contemplates the drama she unknowingly sparked. In a spacious dorm room, a young woman in a robe sarcastically critiques its average size. She flops onto the bed, lamenting its discomfort and her self-imposed isolation. Her face shows deep irritation as she thinks about her new, uncomfortable bed. A notification from Makura arrives, confirming a package has been delivered to room 192. The message includes a cute cat sticker giving a cheerful thumbs up. Lying in bed, she wonders why Tokyo hasn't yet shown his distortion abilities. She recalls his impressive physical skills, questioning their true origin. A sudden knock at the door jolts her as a voice calls out for "Oh-ho." Flustered, she hears the voice outside identify themselves as us. Panicking, she wonders how they can hear her, knowing men aren't allowed in the dorm. The voices outside decide to wait for her since she isn't responding. Her door swings open, revealing her two handlers, Seiki and Makabe, along with an older man. Still in her robe, she stutters in shock at their unexpected arrival. Her surprise shifts to confusion as she demands to know who the older man is. They explain he's a famous sushi chef hired to fulfill her earlier request. Seiki reveals her room is strategically located outside the dorms for quick service. She is astonished to discover her lavish room was specially arranged for her. Her handlers chuckle, finding it hard to believe she thought the large room was standard. They believe that knowing they can always reach her will provide her with a sense of security. Overwhelmed by their constant presence, she collapses onto the bed, utterly catatonic. Later that night, her handlers speculate she's simply worn out from school. Meanwhile, Tokyo lies awake in his bed, his mind racing with thoughts. His roommate Takashi snores loudly from the other side of the divider. The view reveals their Spartan room as Tokyo acknowledges Takashi was right about something. He reflects that this isn't the academic journey he initially envisioned. To become a summoner, he clenches his fist, knowing he must master distortion openings. He remembers Shirashino's willingness to break school rules for him. With renewed determination, he vows to match her resolve with his own steadfast will. His eyes widen with focus as he contemplates his challenging new path in the Special Combat Forces class. The next morning, he resolves to endure the class to avoid dropping out. A school bell rings through an empty hallway, marking the start of the day. A shaggy-haired teacher with a small creature perched on his shoulder greets the class cheerfully. The intimidating students listen as he asks if everyone has successfully paired up. After snapping a photo, a girl demands an answer from a visibly intimidated student. Two top students, Kaido and Nijikawa, surveyed the classroom with serious expressions. Nearby, the arrogant Takashi observes with another classmate, a smirk of disdain on his face. A boy with dark hair, Takoyo, stands isolated, utterly bewildered by the unfolding events. Takashi leans into Koryo's space, derisively calling him a capricious princess. Their instructor, Inu Makura, holds a strange pot, reacting with detached amusement. He presents the odd face-adorned pot, asking if anyone can identify it. Takashi bursts into laughter, telling Takoyo to pay attention. The answer is clear. Fear flashes in Takoyo's eyes as he realizes his risky position could lead to expulsion. Nijikawa snaps his fingers, poised to deliver the right answer. The teacher playfully addresses Nijikawa, calling him the attractive one. Nijikawa smoothly introduces himself as Toru alongside his serious partner, Kaido. Kaido interrupts sharply, clearly annoyed by the formalities. After a brief apology, Nijikawa accurately identifies the object as a distortion pot. Otherworldly gas begins to leak from the pot, marking it as a troublesome artifact. The teacher affirms the answer, explaining he discovered it during a recent incident. The entire class watches in stunned silence as the pot's power activates. The classroom shakes violently from the energy radiating from the pot. From the swirling smoke, the teacher announces that today's lesson will be in pairs. He stands fully, revealing an imposing and enigmatic figure clad in a long coat. He explains they will utilize a spatial teleportation device to reach the incident site. A portal opens, exposing a dark, crumbling hallway from the unresolved incident. A massive, toothy grin appears, confirming a creature still roams the building. With a sly grin, he assigns their mission: investigate, strategize, and return. In a swift whoosh, the entire class is instantly transported into the hallway. Two students express their shock, realizing they've been thrust into a real battlefield. Takashi adjusts his glasses, hoping their mission is merely observational. Kaido clarifies their actual challenge is to gather intel on the unknown creature. Nijikawa proposes Kaido use his fire powers to illuminate the dark. Kaido firmly declines, warning it's too risky without knowing the enemy. In the shadows, tension escalates as some students begin to bicker. Nijikawa suggests they move away, noting the creature might respond to noise. A low humming resonates from the darkness, indicating an unseen presence. Takoyo stands isolated, feeling the strange vibrations that fill the air. A voice pierces the silence, telling Takoyo that he is now completely alone. The teacher appears beside him, reassuring the downcast boy not to fret. With a wide, unsettling grin, the teacher offers to team up with him. Takoyo is taken aback by the offer, surprised by the teacher's sudden warmth. The teacher explains it makes sense for him to partner with a leftover student. He claims to relate to the feeling of isolation from his own school days. Takoyo stammers, trying to clarify that he still has Shirashino as his partner. This unexpected revelation leaves the teacher looking briefly puzzled. A voice calls for them to wait as a figure rushes toward them down the hall. Shirashino bursts onto the scene, declaring that she is here for duty. Takoyo beams at her arrival while the teacher stands utterly bewildered. Her bodyguards realize she got lost and mistakenly followed Takoyo, calling her a handful. The flustered teacher checks his attendance list, muttering that something feels off. Shirashino pants heavily, worn out from her run, as Takoyo expresses his concern. The teacher confirms that Shirashino's name is absent from the attendance list he holds. His small creature companion explains that the list is outdated due to her transfer. The teacher realizes his plan to pair up with the odd student has now fallen apart. Makabe discloses that the teacher's scheme involved getting close to Tokyo. Seki praises the strategy, seeing it as a clever way to monitor him. Oblivious to Koyo, he expresses gratitude to the teacher, adding to the confusion. Takoyo beams, stating everything is fine now that his partner has shown up. Saki comments that they can now relax about Takoyo's oversight. Takoyo vows to give his all with Shirashino by his side. The teacher can only manage a strained laugh, realizing his plan has flopped. A breathless Shirashino inquires about the current situation and what's unfolding. With a powerful surge of energy, the teacher teleports the new duo away. They land in a rundown corridor, and Shirashino recognizes their location. Takoyo is astonished that they were whisked away to another place so quickly. Suddenly, Shirashino leans in closely, catching Koyo off guard and blushing. She reveals her plan to resolve his distortion issue right here and now. This hidden spot is ideal for their secretive, under-the-radar task. Takoyo gets sidetracked, captivated by how beautiful Shirashino looks up close. She snaps at him, questioning if he's even listening to her. He stutters in agreement, puzzled by his own sudden feelings. From a distance, Takashi observes, regretting planting ideas in Koyo's mind. Shirashino instructs Takoya to find a corner so they can finish this quickly. Tokyo slaps his face, trying to regain his focus and composure. Shirashino urges him to hurry, bewildered by his odd, flustered demeanor. She spots a hidden area and kneels, confirming they are alone. With determination, Takoya attempts to explain his choice to her. She interrupts, telling him to be quiet as she needs to concentrate. Closing her eyes, she channels her energy for the challenging summoning. A swirling vortex of energy forms between her hands as she chants. Her eyes widen, her intense gaze reaching across dimensions. Her consciousness travels to a bank of lockers within a corporate building. She zeroes in on locker 192, targeting the specific item she requires. With a final shout, she successfully conjures the miracle storage device. The small, book-like object appears in her hands with a gentle thud. Takoya stares in awe, questioning if she truly summoned that item. She affirms his inquiry and opens the device with a soft click. Inside lies a compact kit containing a cylindrical vial and other tools. She presents the vial, a distortion release kit, to a stunned Takoya. Takoya's eyes widen in shock and unease at the forbidden device. She explains that all she needs to do is jab him in the neck, but he declines. Shirashino gazes at him, completely taken aback by his unexpected defiance. Tokyo firmly states he has no intention of using the kit. He starts to articulate his reasoning, his voice fading into silence. Shirashino stares back, demanding clarity on what he means by his refusal. An argument ignites, both accusing the other of selfishness. He insists he won't be swayed just because she's attractive, leaving her confused. She lunges forward, insisting he stop talking and just show her his neck. His face shifts to one of terror as he warns her about something behind her. A gigantic shark fin slices through the watery floor, heading straight for them. The creature's head bursts through the surface with a massive splash. Both students stare in disbelief, realizing the creature is indeed a shark. They turn and dash in panic as the enormous shark chases them down the corridor. Shirashino curses, having forgotten about the creature, while Takoya feels his energy waning. In a run-down school corridor, Takoya halts abruptly as Shirashino rushes ahead. She glances back, her expression a mix of shock and confusion, demanding to know his actions. With fervent determination, Tokyo proclaims his intent to prove his resolve. He leaps straight at a massive charging shark, leaving his companion in disbelief. He crashes onto the creature's snout, bracing himself against the colossal beast. A fleeting memory of a past failure flashes, shark leaping from a watery abyss. The recollection shows him defeated, the water settling after his failed attempt. He gazes down, disappointment washing over him at his unsuccessful summoning. In the memory, he lies on the ground while Shirashino gasps in the background. He hears her urgent warning that the creature is barreling toward her. Back in reality, Shirashino calls him crazy but mentions she can hear others nearby. Takoya sincerely states he can still assist her, even without summoning powers. He shares his heartfelt wish for them to face their mission as a united team. His mind wanders to a future where he recounts his school experiences to friends. He envisions sharing tales of the people he encountered and the lessons learned. He imagines his friends asking how he eventually mastered summoning. He understands that one day he will have to confront that tough question. He confides in Shirashino, not wanting to admit he broke rules to achieve success. Shirashino listens intently, a bead of sweat revealing her unspoken reaction. Takoya jumps as the floor beneath her turns to liquid with a sickening noise. Suddenly, the shark bursts from the ground, its gaping maw framing her. Her eyes widen in sheer disbelief at the impossible sight before her. She emits a small, bewildered sound, struggling to comprehend the situation. The shark's jaws snap shut, engulfing her completely before Takoya's eyes. He screams her name, a desperate and horrified cry echoing in the chaos. Without a second thought, he lunges forward, frantically trying to follow. His hands manage to grasp the shark's large dorsal fin tightly. Inside, Shirashino screams in fear, questioning if she's truly inside the creature. Takoya clings on as the shark navigates through the watery passage, startling two witnesses. The two other students observe the scene with wide-eyed astonishment. They see Tokyo being pulled through the splashing, chaotic spectacle. One onlooker angrily dismisses his actions as nothing but foolishness. The other disapproves, noting he's ignoring their assignment once more. The blonde student's gaze sharpens, his judgment icy and critical. The shark thrashes violently, transforming the hallway into a rushing waterway. Inside, Shirashino realizes the ground turns to water wherever the beast moves. Tokyo's eyes shine with determination as he prepares to act, commanding his world to shift. He conjures a device still clinging to the thrashing creature. His eyes widen, filled with intense focus and effort. A line with a hook shoots from the device, soaring through the air. The hook embeds itself in a metal fixture on the wall with a loud clang. The line tightens, anchoring the shark and bringing it to a standstill. Tokoyo hears the screeching sound of the line scraping against the floor. Inside the shark's throat, a terrified Shirashino clutches a pistol, fearing a blunder. Her eyes widen in panic as the situation escalates further. Tokoyo plants his feet firmly, starting to reel in the massive creature. His body shakes under the immense strain of the struggle. On the stairs, another student expresses utter bewilderment at the unfolding scene. Other students observe the bizarre confrontation from a safe distance. The blonde student with glasses stands speechless, utterly captivated by the spectacle. From a shattered window, two female students observe, one capturing the moment with her camera. As Tokyo stands firm, the shark thrashes violently in the turbulent waters. The tremendous force sends his feet sliding backward across the floor. A raw, desperate scream escapes him, fueled by sheer effort. With one last effort, he hoists the shark out of the water and into the air. His strength and perspective reveal a power that surpasses human limits. The observer concludes he resembles a summoned entity cloaked in human form. Other students concur that his physical prowess knows no bounds. They come to understand that his abilities defy conventional logic. The observer resolves to take charge of this warped creature. The battle rages on, with Tokoyo kneels beside Adran Shirashino, relieved she's safe. He beams with victory, yet her inner thoughts betray a profound fear. Her wide, glistening eye mirrors her dread of a catastrophic summoning. She anticipates an extraordinary occurrence, noticing a small device rolling away. Nijikawa, a blonde student, retrieves the abandoned distortion release kit. Another student shouts to Nijikawa, inquiring about his actions. Nijikawa grins slyly, pocketing the device and assuring he'll be there shortly. Shirashino, blushing, questions his triumphant demeanor, recalling her own ordeal. The dark fin of the vanquished shark is visible in the damaged corridor. The enormous creature now hangs upside down, bound from the ceiling. Its massive form dangles silently in the dim, ruined hallway. A group of serious students declares they cannot accept this result. Their leader confronts a long-haired teacher, stating their task was merely observation. He clarifies they were only supposed to watch and devise a strategy. He questions how they can escape consequences while Shirashino sneezes from the chill. The teacher listens to the grievance with a neutral, almost indifferent demeanor. The student leader sarcastically wonders if one should ignore a partner being consumed. He stutters, caught between adhering to the rules and the harsh reality. The teacher calmly affirms that following the rules is indeed crucial. Another student argues that in combat, one must prioritize and adapt to surprises. Tokyo interjects, defending the student leader's compassionate actions. The teacher turns to Tokoyo, commending him for his commendable efforts. A faint, knowing smile tugs at the corners of the teacher's mouth. Flustered by the praise, Tokoyo stammers his gratitude to the teacher. The other students watch, their expressions inscrutable. The bespectacled student dryly echoes Tokuyo's remark about compassion. The teacher adds that Tokuyo's feat of subduing the shark was anything but human. Tokoyo attempts to interject, approaching his teacher with a question. He attributes their success to Shirashino's summoning, diverting attention from his own strength. The teacher's gaze sharpens, keenly observing the interaction. Tokuyo grins, insisting he merely assisted while she did the heavy lifting. Shirashino can only stammer a bewildered agreement, still processing everything. Tokoyo proudly asserts to his teacher that this is how they operate. The student leader's eye twitches, clearly annoyed by this proclamation. Nijikawa observes the scene with a cool, calculating demeanor. The teacher offers a nonchalant response to Tokoyo's triumphant claim. His small, horned companion expresses weary resignation to the situation. The teacher declares they will now handle the shark using their own approach. He places a hand on the subdued creature, instructing the two to observe closely. Crouching low, he explains that his method is far more effective than mere elimination. A man clad in a dark coat forcefully pushes a massive, subdued shark. The creature is being directed toward a swirling vortex on the ground. Tokyo and Shirashino, two students, watch the astonishing scene in disbelief. Their teacher calmly gestures, indicating they are prepared for the next step. His small, unicorn horn companion, Usa-chan, eagerly affirms it is ready. Usa-chan's horn glimmers, shooting a precise beam of energy at the shark. The energy beam cleanly cuts through the thick rope binding the enormous creature. Now free, the shark is helplessly drawn into the portal as the teacher names the technique. This technique is called world repatriation, witnessed by the other students from afar. The last remnants of the shark's tail vanish into the swirling void. With a soft hiss, the vortex closes, leaving no evidence of its presence. The teacher stands before his students, with Tokyo gazing on in wonder. He starts to explain the mechanics behind the powerful ability he just demonstrated. A captured summon can be linked back to the distortion from which it originated. This enables the creature to be safely returned to its original world. The teacher glances at Tokyo with a sly grin, asking if he enjoyed the lesson. He clarifies that this is part of their role as summoners who confront the worlds. Tokyo observes, absorbing the profound implications of his newfound knowledge. As the teacher announces it's time to depart, Tokyo realizes a vital truth. Another student reflects that their battle isn't against the summoned beings themselves. Takuyo now comprehends that the entities summoned to this world aren't to blame. He clenches his fist, recognizing that the summoned have committed no wrong. He concludes that their true adversary is the anti-summoners. His intense gaze surprises Shiroshino as he articulates this new realization. Shiroshino glances toward a dark, crumbling corridor, sensing a change in the air. In the distance, a foreboding feeling looms over the dense Tokyo skyline. A man in a suit violently kicks open an apartment door. He and his masked female partner cautiously enter the room. The male agent confirms this is the final room they need to clear. His partner acknowledges his assessment with a simple nod. Inside, a person's head grotesquely morphs into an octopus-like entity. The creature's face then bursts into a horrifying flower-like maw. The male agent declares he will take care of it as dark energy envelops his hand. His partner watches, a hint of surprise at his swift response. She expresses her shock at the sudden and brutal display of power. She then spots a sinister altar, commenting on its intense, unsettling nature. Her partner looms over the vanquished monster, inquiring about her discovery. She notes the eerie atmosphere of the room, uncertain of what is being worshipped. She inspects a small, crudely crafted doll found among the altar's items. The male agent identifies it as the work of the Contra True World Summoning Association. He explains they targeted the entire floor, transforming residents into monsters. She draws his attention, revealing another doll she has uncovered. He asks what makes it special, and she tells him to check the back. Inscribed on the doll's back is the name Tokyo, a shocking connection. She looks at her partner, questioning if this could be mere coincidence. His eyes narrow as he firmly asserts that it is not a coincidence. They stand before the ominous altar, the weight of the situation evident. The male agent gazes out over the city, concluding that things have taken a turn for the worse. Back at school, Usa-chan expresses concern to the teacher about the current predicament. The teacher walks down a corridor, outlining his plan to separate the pair. He plans to intercept Shiroshino when she leaves, ensuring his scheme goes off without a hitch. He fears his colleagues might already be aware of his manipulations. His phone buzzes unexpectedly with an incoming call, catching him off guard. He glances at the phone, a bead of sweat trickling down his forehead. With a shaky breath, he picks up the call, hoping his worries are unfounded. Usa-chan winks, teasing whether his plan will truly unfold as intended. The creature reflects that Shiroshino appeared quite fed up with the day's happenings. The teacher listens closely to the voice on the other end of the line. His face darkens as he inquires how long something has been present. Inside the apartment, the agent mentions the altar felt like it had been there ages. He confirms the altar wasn't recently installed, which carries weight. The teacher asks if this detail matters, receiving a firm affirmative in response. The agent speculates this indicates the association has infiltrated the school. His partner's gaze sharpens, contemplating the serious ramifications of this idea. The agent concurs with his own grim evaluation of the situation. A montage reveals the Contra True World Summoning Association, a clandestine group. Fueled by blind faith, they aim to achieve selfish, disastrous objectives. The agent concludes they wouldn't hesitate to manipulate Tokoyo's abilities directly. The scene transitions to a lively contemporary school cafeteria bustling with students. Shiroshino leisurely sips her drink through a straw, appearing at ease. She and Tokoyori sit together at a table, unwinding after the earlier chaos. Tokyo sets his glass down, ready to unpack what just transpired. Shiroshino exhales deeply, confessing the day's events were overwhelmingly stressful. Takoyo agrees, lamenting that he feels he botched yet another task. She brushes off his worries, reminding him she nearly became shark bait. She urgently asks if he recalls what she was holding just before that. He remembers the item, a distortion release kit which violates school rules. She admits she misplaced the kit, fearing it might be inside the shark. She feels relieved the shark was returned, but worries the kit will be discovered. A new voice cuts into their conversation, grabbing their attention. A white-haired student, Kudo, holds up the very kit they were discussing. Takoyo and Shiroshino freeze, their eyes wide with shock. Kudo chuckles, confirming the device is theirs as Shiroshino panics. She frantically insists she has never seen the kit in her life. Kudo calmly points out the Shiroshino group's logo on the tube. Shiroshino is caught off guard, her face turning red with embarrassment. Kudo places the controversial item on the table between them. He explains that it's a dangerous tool not available for public purchase. Its function is to obliterate common sense and forcibly release a user's distortion. Takoyo is horrified to discover it could inflict permanent damage to consciousness. He turns to Shiroshino in alarm, asking if she truly intended to use that on him. She hurriedly hushes him, admitting she had prepared medicine just in case. Kudo reassures them, saying he won't report them and get them expelled. He confesses he finds their ability to annoy Kaido utterly amusing. Shiroshino glares at him, deeply skeptical of his intentions and odd behavior. She demands to know his true purpose, questioning if this is a bribe. She points out that she doesn't even know his name or what kind of person he is. Kudo's face lights up, declaring that names are precisely what he wanted to discuss. He reveals a key detail about their teacher, who never remembers student names. He notes that the teacher even referred to him as the Hot One, showcasing his bias. A young man named Takoyo ponders that Shiroshino's recent compliment might actually hold some truth. His blonde classmate leans in, pointing out that their teacher, Sensei, mentioned Takoyo's name. The boy's gaze sharpens as he recalls the notorious Inumakura Sensei's odd behavior. Nearby, Shiroshino finds it odd that Sensei would remember a student who doesn't summon. With their faces nearly touching, the blonde boy speaks to a blushing Takoyo. He beams with triumph, claiming victory while holding a peculiar device to his neck. A loud clatter echoes as Shiroshino gasps in horror, demanding they stop at once. Takoyo looks utterly confused, questioning the situation as the device presses against him. His eyes widen and lose focus as he starts to sway, his identity slipping away. With a resounding crash, he falls, and Shiroshino angrily demands to know what just happened. Another student reveals they were all meant to use the device, but Takoyo had declined. The blonde boy calmly gestures for silence, advising her not to shout. Shiroshino stands speechless, noticing the other students observing them from the hallway. With a cunning grin, the boy proclaims they are now partners in crime. He formally introduces himself as Toro Nijikawa, leaving Shiroshino in stunned disbelief. A low buzzing emanates from Tokyo as his awareness is forcefully yanked away. His consciousness is thrust into a primeval world teeming with roaring dinosaurs and odd creatures. Next, he observes enormous tripod-like alien machines moving through a devastated city. The scene shifts to a chaotic realm filled with strange, cartoonish beings from another world. He then sees a barren battlefield where robotic soldiers loom over a fallen figure. Finally, he drifts through a stark void filled with geometric shapes and crosses. With a sudden rush, Tokyo jolts back to reality, looking dazed and utterly perplexed. Nijikawa and Shiroshino observe him closely as he regains his bearings in the hallway. Takoyo quietly wonders about the experience, his mind still spinning from the visions. Nijikawa's eye is shown as he contemplates Tokoyo's glimpse into those otherworldly sights. Takoyo reflects that such an experience could easily distort any ordinary person's perception. Yet he finishes his thought with a sense of underwhelming disappointment, questioning if that was it. A close-up of Nijikawa's eye reveals he believes his assumption about Tokyo was spot on. Tokyo stands quietly, his face obscured as he processes the bizarre, ineffective attack. Shiroshino watches with a serious, slightly anxious expression, sensing something is amiss. Nijikawa chuckles, commenting on how composed Tokyo seems despite his recent ordeal. She realizes with growing dread that Tokyo might have anticipated this event. Her eyes widen in shock as she recalls the very first name Sensei mentioned. Her thoughts continue, recognizing that name belongs to the most gifted student. She concludes that the most talented student must be part of the Special Forces. Meanwhile, a woman with a ponytail greets someone, confirming their arrival at a different site. Sensei, a man with unkempt black hair, is asked if he received anything from him. He stands with his colleagues, flatly stating that he learned nothing from the subject. A man is shown suspended, his head grotesquely replaced by an octopus-like entity. A blond man in a suit expresses his shock at transforming the actual perpetrator. The creature has lost all consciousness, merely muttering Tokoyo's name repeatedly. 3 figures observe as the creature continuously begs for Tokoyo's release. Sensei notes that the subject keeps repeating those same words over and over. He remains silent, his expression somber as he contemplates the implications of this plea. The woman with the ponytail poses a serious question to Sensei about unlocking distortions. She inquires what it takes to unlock the abilities of someone already so deeply altered. She suggests that a mere otherworldly experience shouldn't suffice for someone like him. Sensei's eye is shown as he agrees, explaining that this is exactly why it's unique. He clarifies that for Tokyo, what others refer to as a foreign world is actually his true reality. Nijikawa casually brushes off his attack on Tokoyo as just a harmless prank or surprise. He bluntly remarks that it's good they've clarified Koyos is a monster. Nijikawa's dismissive tone shakes Tokyo as he tells him to just leave. A voice reflects that Tokoyo's very humanity will be the key to everything. From behind, 3 figures are shown, explaining that his view of humanity must evolve. The octopus-headed man rides, concluding that this is when it will finally occur. Sensei's face reveals a chilling determination, aware of the dark road ahead. A salaryman stumbles through the city streets at night, clearly drunk. He hears a noise from a nearby trash pile and turns to investigate. Wobbling, he mutters to himself about how much he drank earlier. His drunken stupor is interrupted by confusion as he notices movement. Peering into the shadows, he wonders if the noise is just a raccoon. A monstrous, eyeless rat with sharp fangs leaps out, leaving him speechless. A student holds a warning poster about a large, monstrous rodent. Kaido, the spiky-haired student, reads the poster and questions if it's a giant rat. 2 female students prepare for their assignment, focused on their phones and papers. A group of serious students, including Nijikawa and Kaido, stands ready for action. Sensei bizarrely bounces on a panda spring rider, announcing their task. The student clarifies that their mission today is to eliminate the rats. Sensei explains that a summoned creature has slipped from another realm into theirs. Still rocking, he adds that it has taken refuge in the park, frightening locals. A bespectacled man confirms this, looking worried about the escalating situation. He introduces himself as a staff member from the nearby community center. He details ongoing complaints about scattered trash and pets being attacked. He mentions that while no humans have been harmed yet, tension is high. Sensei's playful attitude fades, explaining why they allowed it to roam. He cautions them not to underestimate the issue. Summoners are very busy. He explains that if more witnesses report the rat on the news, and once it becomes widely recognized by the public, Shiroshino finishes his thought, stating it will become part of the new reality. She watches with a confident smile, fully aware of the mission's stakes. Sensei's eye is shown as he absorbs her accurate assessment of the situation. He concludes that it's their duty as summoners to prevent the world view from expanding. Tokoyo contemplates his own knowledge, which starkly contrasts with this world. Based on the poster, he assumes such a creature is common and easy to find. Sensei dismisses the class, urging them to work hard and protect the world. Tokoyo stands alone, realizing his perspective is fundamentally different from theirs. Shiroshino gasps in shock at the strange question Tokyo just posed. He asks her, genuinely confused, if she also hails from the fantasy district. He explains he was advised to keep quiet, fearing others would think he's odd. Shiroshino is completely baffled, asking if he's joking, her mouth agape. He insists it's not a place for humans, even though others live there. A memory of a gaunt, deranged man screaming at the sky illustrates his point. He clarifies that the other humans in the fantasy district were all a bit off. He explains he was always told he was normal and never had reason to doubt it. He realizes his distortion won't manifest because other worlds feel normal to him. He concludes that to actual normal humans, he must appear as an unusual monster. Cherishino processes this, a bead of sweat on her brow as she smiles weakly. The world spins around her as she grapples with the fact he grew up there. She stumbles away, looking pale and nauseous as Tokyo rushes to her side. He offers her a handkerchief as she complains that her mind is fried from the revelation. A shocked Shiroshino clutches a piece of fabric, asking what it is. Tokoyo clarifies it's a handkerchief, questioning if that's unusual to carry. She takes it, commenting on how dependable he appears despite everything. Turning to a confused Tokoyo, she reassures him that he will be okay. Shiroshino points out that even if he's a monster, he appears human. His uniquely patterned eyes widen as he absorbs her acceptance. She acknowledges that his strange behavior now makes sense given his origins. She turns away, requesting a moment to gather her thoughts. In response, Tokyo's hand forms a determined fist. He declares this his starting point as a monstrous rat scurries past. A man sporting a mohawk spots the creature and shouts for someone to catch it. Hiding behind a tree, Tokyo and Shirachino set up their ambush. She confirms he understands the plan while preparing an anesthetic gun. He nods, listening as she instructs him to leap at her signal. She details her plan to shoot the rat once it gets startled. He rehearses the steps, ready to execute the plan flawlessly. He steels himself, determined that a human can become a summoner. Shiroshino waits patiently in her hiding spot for the creature to come closer. Internally, she resolves that her first step is to acquire human common sense. Her expression hardens as the perfect moment finally arrives. Declaring this her first step, she signals WAC to act now. Tokoyo jumps out, landing dramatically to startle the beast. Her face twists in shock as the plan goes awry immediately. The shadowy creature is seen mid-leap, having evaded the trap. It bolts away with astonishing speed, joining a larger rat. Tokyo questions her failure, and she yells about its incredible speed. She flicks his forehead, sarcastically noting another monster point for him. He protests, but she clarifies she wanted a normal human stomp. Their teacher, Inumako, observes from a distance, pondering what to do next. While Tokyo takes notes, Inumakura admits he anticipated this outcome. He decides it's best to maintain his distance from the students. His small companion, Usa-chan, watches with a curious expression. A flashback reveals Shirashino planning to keep a close eye on Tokoyo. She deduces that the teacher's high expectations stem from his fantasy district perspective. A deal is made. She'll teach him human common sense in return for his support. He eagerly agrees, believing this arrangement will redefine their approach. A shadowy creature zips past with astonishing speed. Another student warns his friend, Takashi-kun, that a creature is approaching. Takashi coolly assures that he has the situation under control. He performs a summon, a strange material freezing in his grasp. He unleashes the high-speed petrification material, a web-like projectile. The substance splashes over the creature as it charges forward. The material hardens instantly around the creature's body. The rat is frozen solid in an instant. He stands over the immobilized creature, which flops to the ground. His expression shifts to mild surprise. He and his friends cheer, celebrating their swift and easy victory. He boasts that the assignment was simple, suggesting they return before Kaido. Suddenly, the petrified rat is encased in a floating bubble, leaving him confused. Two girls snap a picture of the scene, finding the captured creature adorable. Takashi-kun quips that the bizarre scene is true artistry. He adjusts his spectacles, perplexed by this bizarre turn of events. Meanwhile, Kaido and his ally discover yet another vanquished rat, pondering if more lurk around. They confirm it's the fifth one, speculating on how many remain. Another group finds it strange how easily they've been spotting the rats. They realize the numbers should dwindle, not grow, if they're truly being hunted. A student starts to piece things together, a sense of dread creeping in. He recognizes that something has felt off since their arrival. A huge swarm of rat-like creatures begins to pour out from the forest. He deduces that the population of these large rodents has been on the rise. Tokoyo and Shirashino are taken aback by the sudden onslaught of the massive horde. Shirashino realizes her tiny anesthetic gun is ineffective against such a vast number. She contemplates summoning a more formidable weapon to eliminate them. They argue passionately. He insists they can't kill them, while she argues they'll perish regardless. He is shocked by her cold indifference towards the creatures. He naively thinks they're being captured for food, which she strongly refutes. Perplexed, he questions why she would want to exterminate them. The chilling response comes. The creatures hold no value for humans. The summoner stands before Tokoyo and Shirashino, sharing his bleak worldview. He clarifies that humans only accept those they consider valuable. Shirashino realizes he's talking about the shadowy rat scurrying nearby. The man admits he's a selfish summoner who unleashed them for extermination. Addressing him directly, the man's gaze fixes on a stunned Tokoyo. With a wild look, he asks if Tokoyo has finally learned to despise humans. Suddenly, Shirashino fires her pistol at the man, the shot ringing out. The summoner looks down, bewildered by the unexpected and seemingly futile attack. Both students stare in disbelief as the man remains standing, unfazed. He finally collapses, and Shirashino urgently urges a frozen Tokoyo to flee. As they run, Tokoyo questions how he survived a close-range anesthetic shot. Shirashino yells that he can manipulate distortions to counteract the drugs. On the ground, the man's body vibrates with energy as he battles the sedative. She screams that they aren't strong enough to confront anti-summoners yet. Her words leave Tokoyo speechless, grasping the seriousness of their predicament. The anti-summoner pushes himself up, grumbling that her attack was unnecessary. Realizing the truth, Tokoyo halts and turns back toward the man. He understands this is precisely the kind of target the special forces engage. A voice from off-panel commands a powerful fire attack. A colossal wall of flames suddenly erupts, blocking their escape route. Two classmates emerge from the fire. Shirashino angrily labels them pyromaniacs. The spiky-haired boy scoffs at her, while his friend gives a casual wave. The blonde boy reassures them the flames will soon subside, asking about their hurry. Tokoyo attempts to convey their urgency, explaining they have much to fear. From the inferno, the classmate echoes the anti-summoner's question about hating humans. The repeated inquiry hits Tokoyo hard, his eyes widening in shock. He turns to Shirashino, telling her he can't escape with her. His classmate watches, puzzled by his sudden choice to stay. Tokoyo's determination is unwavering. He can't ignore the summoner. The anti-summoner staggers to his feet, having expected this very outcome. He anticipated this moment, repeatedly calling out Tokoyo's name as his plan unfolds. As a figure distorts from misusing his power, Tokoyo's anger crystallizes into a resolve to strike. 3 students, a spiky-haired boy and a blonde girl among them, watch in bewilderment. A bespectacled man, his features twisted, speaks with frenzied admiration about a magnificent perspective. The spiky-haired student grimly notes that the man has completely lost grip on his distortion. His blonde friend adds that it appears the man never aimed to control it. The man's body grotesquely contorts, a second head bursting forth as his world view crumbles. With a wild gaze, he murmurs about unleashing someone else's hidden potential. The blonde girl observes the unfolding chaos, her face a mask of deep concern. A dark-haired boy named Tokoyo asks the blonde girl if he can knock the man out. She consents, but only if he strikes the man with all his might. The now monstrous man joyfully welcomes Tokoyo, who approaches with fierce determination. In a chaotic vision, the man and his bizarre companions revel in their anticipated triumph. A more human version of the man is depicted, directly addressing Tokoyo by name. His strange summoned allies tell Tokoyo that he is destined to transform their world. In a close-up, the man desperately implores Tokoyo to endure humanity's hatred and malice. Tokoyo's face twists with fury, realizing just how selfish the man's demand truly is. With tremendous force, he drives his fist deep into the monstrous man's abdomen. A man with dark, shaggy hair appears, calmly announcing that the battle is over. Tokoyo and his friends stare in disbelief at the newcomer's sudden, nonchalant intervention. A small horned creature named Usa-chan winces in pain, expressing gratitude for the assistance. The defeated man crumples to the ground, letting out a final agonized groan. He utters a shocking last statement, vowing glory to the fantasy district, leaving Tokoyo stunned. In a city alley, a voice reprimands someone named Inumakura for his reckless actions. A blonde man named Seki chastises Inumakura for allowing Tokoyo to contact the Contra True World Summoning Association. Inumakura defends his risky strategy, claiming it was essential to draw out their target. A woman with a ponytail, Rindo, identifies a specific restaurant as the location of their target. Seki confirms over the phone that her intel about the restaurant is accurate. The chapter title, The Contra True World, appears as Saki and Rindo enter the quiet venue. A bald man in an apron informs the two agents that the restaurant isn't open yet. Rindo and Psyche exchange glances, sensing that something feels off. She notes the unusual liveliness for a closed establishment, spotting other patrons inside. Rindo addresses the group with a knowing grin, asking if they are friends of hers plotting something. The seated patrons respond with looks of suspicion and hostility. The bald man narrows his eyes, demanding to know who the intruders are. His inquiry is met with a tense silence as he braces for a confrontation. Rindo warns him not to offer customers items that aren't on the menu. Seki notes their numerical disadvantage, suggesting he should wait outside for backup. Ignoring him, Rindo conjures a massive, intimidating scythe, ready for battle. She cautions the group against recklessly unleashing any distortions within the restaurant. The long-haired woman recognizes her, calling out Rindo's name as she prepares to strike. Rindo swings her scythe, clarifying that it will only cut through their distortions. The bald man is taken aback as the blade harmlessly passes through his arm. Another member of the group recoils in disbelief from the bizarre, non-physical assault. The woman is utterly shocked, unable to grasp what just transpired. Off-panel screams echo as Psyche stands unfazed amidst the chaos. He states their straightforward goal: they only need to capture one of them. Inu Makura explains their plan to interrogate one member to uncover the rest. A captured man with glasses, his face strained, begs them to end his life. Inumakura Koli informs him that all his comrades have taken their own lives, making him their sole source. The captive realizes in horror that the device attached to him is an interrogation tool. The machine's large eye whirs to life as it begins to probe his mind and memories. Inumakura perceives the group's actions as a departure from the true perspective of the world. The prisoner accuses the summoners of being hypocritical, exploiting meta-beings for their own benefit. Tokoyo echoes this sentiment, claiming they intend to manipulate him at their convenience. The captive scoffs at the notion of a summoning academy, asserting they never wished for Koyo to become a summoner. Inumakura's phone vibrates and he answers with a composed, knowing demeanor. He casually inquires with his subordinate on the line about the current status. Seki reports from the location that their mission has been accomplished. He confirms that all enemy summoners were apprehended before they could take their own lives. Inumakura expresses his contentment with the successful outcome of the raid. A sudden gunshot echoes sharply from Seki's end of the call. Seki yells in alarm, questioning the origin of the unexpected noise. Inumakura brushes off the sound, holding a summoned pistol over his now lifeless captive. He recalls the man's last promise to safeguard Tokyo's humanity, even at the cost of his life. Seki asks what unnecessary remarks the man made before being silenced. Inumakura fabricates a lie, dismissing the man's words as meaningless babble that held no significance for Tokyo. Later, Tokoyo sits in his room contemplating the man's final statements. He gazes at a treasured photo of himself with his unconventional family from the fantasy district. A voice interrupts his moment of quiet reflection. He looks up to find his classmate Takashi leaning against the doorway. Takashi shares that his friends heard a tale about Tokyo from someone named Nijikawa. He directly asks Tokyo if it's true that he hails from the fantasy district. Inumakura explains that the more observant students have already deduced Tokyo's background. Takashi's gaze is drawn to the photograph Tokoyo is holding. He presses for confirmation, asking if the rumors are indeed accurate. Rindo recalls the peculiar chant of glory directed towards the fantasy district from the captured summoners. Seki confirms that other students seemingly overheard the chant as well. The captured summoners are depicted repeating the phrase with intense, almost agonized expressions. Their desperate plea for a new world and the release of another is unveiled. Seki and Rindo are left pondering the true significance of their agreement. Later, Inumakura stands before his class, prepared to commence the day's lesson. He announces that the Special Forces will be confined indoors for several days to study the worldview. He clarifies that when something from another world is introduced into theirs, the worldview broadens. Tokoyo reflects that while he feels pleased about this, there is a considerable downside. Inumakura concludes that to safeguard their current worldview, they must halt the encroachment of other worlds. In the school corridor, a punk student aggressively shouts at Tokoyo. He sneers at Tokyo, derisively labeling him the brat from the fantasy district. The student blames Tokyo for their dull remedial classes, referencing a past incident. Other students observe, and Tokyo realizes that now that the truth is revealed, Shirashina watches with concern as Tokyo's fears about his origins materialize. Everyone has altered their perception of him. Takashi intervenes, telling the bullies to back off. Takashi stands protectively in front of Tokyo, warning the others against bad-mouthing him. Tokoyo is completely taken aback by this unexpected act of defense from his classmate. Shirashina is equally astonished by the sudden shift in events. Two other female students snap a picture capturing the tense moment. Takashi admits he was mistaken about Tokyo, having initially thought he was just a lazy hick. He now recognizes the bravery it took for Tokyo to even enroll in their school. In a flashback, Takashi asks Tokyo if he was truly raised by an octopus-like creature. Tokoyo confirms that his grandfather and others found him and raised him as a human. He shares his aspiration to become a summoner, to repay their kindness, and bring them joy. Takashi listens intently to this heartfelt confession, his eyes reflecting newfound respect. A young man with dark hair, Tokuyo, converses with a blonde classmate, recognizing the challenges ahead. He asserts that even as a human, he won't abandon his ambitions. He proclaims his goal to become a summoner, no matter his unique situation. With fierce determination, he vows to carve his own path and demonstrate his potential. Suddenly, Takashi, the blonde student, throws an arm around a shocked Tokuyo. With a cheerful tone, Takashi proposes they grab a bite to eat together. Tokuyo can only stare, utterly confused by this unexpected show of camaraderie. As they stroll away, other students are astonished to learn Tokuyo has never tried shogayaki. Shirashino, a blonde girl, observes their departure, surprised by their newfound friendship. Meanwhile, a white-haired student chuckles, finding their bond quite entertaining. He remembers Shirashino's earlier irritation with him, contrasting it with the current scene. He simply wishes for a fun, peaceful experience at the academy. A small dragonfly-like drone with a camera buzzes around them. The white-haired student is revealed to be monitoring a live stream on a handheld device. A stern, muscular teacher expresses his disappointment over the secretive surveillance. A girl wearing a patterned hat remains skeptical, claiming Tokuyo is a spy. She firmly believes he has infiltrated the school as an adversary. Their discussion is cut short by a sudden movement nearby. A teacher with long dark hair appears, finding their spy theory intriguing. He hints that the one being targeted might actually be the true threat. The new teacher praises the other two for their apparent talent in spotting spies. A whimsical little creature dangles from his hand, wishing to blend in better. The stern teacher cautiously inquires about the newcomer's real intentions. The long-haired teacher simply gestures for silence, raising a finger to his lips. He announces an extracurricular task for the students at an industrial site. Tokuyo dashes through a narrow alley, his footsteps echoing on the metal. He shouts instructions, guiding an unseen entity through the industrial labyrinth. A white, ghostly creature scurries along the pipes above, following his lead. Tokuyo leaps over a railing, moving with an agility that defies belief. The ghostly being stretches and glides over the pipes, keeping up the chase. After landing on a lower level, Tokuyo signals to his partner, indicating the trap. Shirashino confirms her readiness, aiming a device with fierce determination. She fires, sending a large web-like net toward the unsuspecting creature. Excitedly, Tokuyo exclaims that their timing couldn't be better. Just as he speaks, a swirling net descends upon a simple, ghostly being. His triumphant grin quickly shifts to one of wide-eyed disbelief. Instead of ensnaring the creature, the net detonates in a massive fiery blast. Kneeling on the rooftop, Tokuyo silently watches the smoldering remains of the creature. A foot steps forward as a voice comments on his actions being done without summoning. Two more students arrive, one explaining that Tokuyo's unique perspective enables remarkable feats. With a small flame flickering in his hand, Kaido Kohli brands Tokuyo a distorted human. A troubled Tokuyo gazes on, quietly uttering Kaido's name in disbelief. Kaido begins his lecture, criticizing their flawed strategy and ineffective rope net. His companion Shirashino looks down, clearly annoyed by the arrogant critique. He argues that simply eliminating the creature would have wrapped up the assignment much faster. The harsh accusation registers in Tokuyo's troubled eyes as he listens. Kaido's gaze remains sharp and unwavering, his conviction absolute and unyielding. From a high vantage point, their teacher observes the escalating conflict below. His small, horned companion expresses frustration that the students are already at odds again. The teacher reflects that the students must figure out how to accept this distorted being. In the background, classmates observe the unfolding drama with keen interest. Tokuyo silently wishes that this victory would finally dispel their unfounded fears. A chilling realization hits him. The situation is deteriorating rapidly. He stands there, dumbfounded, grappling with the intensity of the confrontation. Kaido scoffs, questioning Tokuyo's seemingly noble intent to provide support. He accuses Tokuyo of shirking his responsibility to safeguard his summoned allies. Tokuyo fervently refutes the accusation, but Kaido's fiery presence only escalates. His protest falters, words choking him as he stutters in response. Amid their argument, the captured creature disintegrates in the searing flames. A haunting memory resurfaces, an injured man begging him to despise humanity. The flashback paralyzes him, eyes wide with unuttered terror. Kaido, oblivious to the memory, inquires about Tokuyo's sudden eerie silence. A sharp whistle slices through the tension, abruptly halting the standoff. The teacher cheerfully announces the assignment's conclusion, expressing gratitude. He states that since 2 pairs collaborated, everyone will pass. Unseen, a mechanical dragonfly drone buzzes quietly, monitoring the scene. A small single-eyed drone hovers nearby, emitting a high-pitched electronic whine. A serious student with thick brows directly asks his friend for input. On a balcony, the stern young man calls for his classmates to assemble. The beanie-wearing student thoughtfully concludes that Kaido doesn't seem like a spy. He clarifies, seeking his friend's thoughts on their teacher's extracurricular task. Their teacher presents a grim scenario involving a spy targeting Koyos in class. The quiet beanie student listens, acknowledging the possibility with a nod. The student from below wonders what happens if they fail to catch the spy. The stern student grimly predicts their teacher will suspect them if they fail. He explains that their teacher is someone who trusts no one. Overwhelmed, the teacher admits he can no longer defend Tokyo amid their issues. He fears that further damage to the top student's pride could have dire consequences. He reflects on needing to connect with Tokyo on a more personal level. His small, horned companions suddenly recall something crucial they had missed. The teacher remembers another issue as a troubled Shirashino appears in the distance. Shirashino urges a downcast Tokyo to stop fixating on the creature's remains. Takuyo quietly agrees, realizing he must learn human common sense to fit in. He expresses a strong desire to be a normal human, despite his circumstances. Yet he feels isolated, convinced that others now view him differently due to his past. A blonde classmate attempts to console him, noting that normalcy varies for everyone. Suddenly, the blonde boy points at something odd in the distance, grabbing their attention. He insists he spotted a massive shadow, but a skeptical Shirashino sees nothing unusual. She scans the area, finding no one around and doubting his claim entirely. The empty walkway behind them seems to validate her skepticism about the shadow. In the next moment, however, her disbelief shatters into sheer shock. Takuyo also turns, his expression morphing into one of sudden deep alarm. Meanwhile, their teacher walks away when his students urgently call for him to return. The blonde student and his friend desperately shout for their teacher to come back. The teacher halts, eyes widening as he realizes something has gone horribly wrong. A gigantic, white-furred creature with a multi-eyed mask appears before the 4 students. As the monstrous figure looms, Tokyo instinctively tightens his fist, readying himself. The creature leans down, its masked face filling their view as it greets Takuyo by name. The 4 students stand frozen in fear as the beast inquires about his humanity. With a blinding flash, 4 menacing isolates emerge, swinging into action. Chapter 8, titled The Garden World, begins with the soothing sound of waves. A young man named Tokyo gradually opens his eyes, his vision still hazy. He finds himself sprawled on a sandy beach, water lapping at him. As he gazes at the towering cliffs and thick forest, he ponders his location. Confusion washes over his face as he struggles to comprehend his environment. Suddenly, alarm flashes in his eyes as he notices something further down the beach. He spots his classmate, Shirashino, unconscious on the sand and calls out to her. Rushing to her side, Tokyo anxiously inquires if she's okay. Shirashino groggily pushes herself up, grumbling about the cold and her confusion. She gazes at the vast sea, watching the waves roll in without pause. Both express their disbelief, questioning if this is truly the ocean and what's going on. Shirashino recalls a flash of blinding light before she lost consciousness and washed ashore. 2 boys, Nijikawa and Kaido, arrive, confirming they experienced the same event. Nijikawa casually suggests they might have somehow ended up in paradise. In stark contrast, Kaido's expression is one of quiet, simmering distrust. He strides purposefully toward Tokyo, his intentions unclear. With a sudden forceful motion, he grabs Tokyo by the collar of his uniform. Kaido angrily demands an explanation for the summoned creature that appeared. A terrified Tokyo stutters, claiming he has no idea what happened. Kaido presses him, pointing out that the creature seemed to recognize him. As the 4 walk along the beach, Kaido insists that understanding this is vital. He vividly remembers the sudden threatening emergence of the summoned being. Kaido concludes they were attacked and somehow transported here. The scene shifts to their school, where a voice states this is no time for calm. Other students watch with deep concern as the situation unfolds. Their teacher, Sensei, quietly apologizes to the fallen students. He stands over the 4 unconscious bodies, demanding a full explanation. A bespectacled student admits they aren't entirely sure what happened. He explains a massive summon appeared, and then they found their classmates down. Sensei kneels beside Tokyo, checking for a pulse on the boy's neck. He confirms they're alive but suspects their consciousness has been displaced. His mind races, suspecting the Contra True World Summoning Association's involvement. He concludes that a spy must be lurking within their Special Forces class. Another student points out Tokyo's connection to these bizarre occurrences. The bespectacled student demands their teacher clarify what's happening in their class. He reiterates that Tokyo appears to be the common thread in these attacks. Sensei's gaze sharpens as he processes the gravity of the situation. Two other students, a girl wearing a hat and a large boy, observe silently. The group implores their teacher, asking if there's anything they can do to assist. The bespectacled student yells for Sensei to wait as he starts to leave. He questions why their teacher isn't taking action and what they should do. A colleague informs them that there's nothing they can do at the moment. He dismisses them all, leaving the students stunned and frustrated by his inaction. Later, two other students approach Sensei with an update on their investigation. They report that while a spy hasn't been located, they did manage to capture footage. Sensei, his expression grave, requests to see the video. Shock and concern wash over his face as he views the image on the phone. The footage reveals a monstrous creature ominously perched on a railing. A student explains that a bright light engulfed the area before the summon vanished. The final frame captures a chilling close-up of the creature's four-eyed mask. In the present moment, Sensei feels his phone vibrating in his palm. The girl wearing the hat points out that his phone is ringing. He acknowledges the incoming call, his face still etched with concern. Before picking up, he urgently instructs his two students to investigate. He states that any student found nearby will be the spy. Finally, he answers the call, greeting the voice on the line. On the beach, Tokyo insists he has no idea what's happening. He swears he's never encountered anything like that creature, even in the fantasy district. Kaido's fury seems to falter for a moment as he hears the plea. He turns to Shirashino, his gaze piercing as he seeks her input. Shirashino meets his gaze, her expression serious and resolute. With a weary determination, she urges Kaido to let him go. She defends Tokoyo, asserting he's not the type to deceive or conceal. Tokyo watches, surprised and grateful for her unwavering support. Kaido hesitantly loosens his grip on Tokoyo's collar, though doubt lingers. He points out that Tokyo did indeed conceal his origins from the fantasy district. Tokuyo stutters, struggling to articulate his explanation. Nijikawa chuckles, breaking the tension in the air. He stands next to Shirashino, his jacket casually draped over his shoulder. He announces to the group that he has good news for someone named Inumakura. The scene shifts to Sensei on the phone, a look of weary surprise crossing his face. He asks the person on the line if they're joking with him. Nijikawa, in a pristine hallway, confirms that the information is completely accurate. He explains that the intel was obtained from a summoner they recently captured. He reveals that the mastermind behind the Contra True World Summoning Association is a single formidable meta-being as a flock of birds takes flight in alarm. Back on the beach, Nijikawa and Kaido glance up at the sudden commotion. Shirashino's eyes widen in utter shock at what emerges. Tokoyo's expression reflects hers, filled with disbelief. A deep, resonant hum fills the air as a massive figure materializes. A gigantic wolf-like creature with a white mane steps out from the forest. The beast stands tall, its massive form radiating overwhelming energy. Nijikawa's voiceover explains that the being evaded detection and is manipulating humans. He confirms it's a summon capable of directly affecting human consciousness. The beast leans forward, its sharp-toothed maw open as it invites them into its realm. Kaido instantly springs into action, his body coiled and ready for combat. Tokoyo shouts for him to hold on, taken aback by the sudden movement. Kaido's eyes narrow with fierce concentration as he prepares to unleash his power. He releases a torrent of fire, shouting the name of his attack. In the same motion, he yanks Tokyo out of the path of the flames. Kaido's eyes widen in disbelief at the creature's unexpected response. Tokoyo's face is a mask of sheer terror as the scene unfolds. The beast moves with astonishing speed, completely evading the attack. It reappears behind them, gazing down with a menacingly amused expression. With a rustle of leaves, it lands softly, its presence overwhelming. The group stares in stunned silence at the creature's impossible speed. Kaido's eye twitches, his frustration and rage boiling over. He suddenly pivots and delivers a powerful, unprovoked punch to Tokyo. Tokoyo stumbles to the ground from the unexpected violent strike. He looks up, demanding to know why his classmates have turned on him. Tokoyo argues that the creature was someone they could have communicated with. Kaido, his classmate, scoffs at the notion of conversing with a monster. Nijikawa, a calm boy with white hair, insists the creature is hostile and predatory. However, Tokyo quietly disagrees, sensing the creature's true intentions were different. Kaido's composure fractures audibly, his anger reaching a boiling point. A vein pulses at his temple as he claims Tokyo's empathy marks him as an enemy. He declares that their groups will now separate and go their own ways. With a frigid gaze, he calls Nijikawa to join him, solidifying their split. As he turns away, Kaido has one last remark for the others. He speaks directly to Shirashino, offering her a chance to abandon Tokoyo. The circumstances have shifted, he explains, freeing her from her duty to protect. Shirashino absorbs his ultimatum, her face a mask of tension and unreadability. He cautions her that survival hinges on choosing the right side. She observes them depart, a bead of sweat betraying her inner conflict. Her eye mirrors the heavy burden of the choice she must now confront. Takuya watches, his expression revealing vulnerability and concern for her decision. The two remain alone, framed by the island's otherworldly landscape. Deep within the underbrush, 4 glowing eyes observe them from the shadows. The creature is named Garden, its eyes piercing through the darkness. Its nature is unveiled, a perilous entity that ensnares targets in a mental realm. In a modern control room, suited professionals monitor the unfolding events. A man reveals they have harnessed its power to trap agents in a different realm. Their instructor Kuro clarifies it was for training and summoner evaluations in isolation. The creature can also ensnare discontented summoners, sowing seeds of doubt. Kuro confirms this ability is how it could form a subversive organization. He wonders if there's any possibility of rescuing those ensnared in its domain. A colleague questions why he seems so invested in the situation. Over the unconscious students, Kuro brushes off the concern as mere curiosity. He presses again, inquiring if the trapped individuals can be rescued. An analyst states they lack sufficient data to provide a clear answer. Kuro's demeanor shifts to serious as he contemplates the urgency of the situation. Inside Garden's realm, a significant temporal distortion is occurring. He explains that time operates differently there compared to the real world. 1 minute in their reality equals an entire hour in the other. The remaining students listen intently, their expressions grave as he elaborates. Kuro concludes a call with a student named Inumakura. The blonde man hangs up, assuring he will return the call later. The professionals in the control room observe with serious expressions. The blonde man inquires about the call, sensing the urgency in the air. Kuro covers his face in despair, realizing the enemy aims to free Tokyo. He rushes toward the students, aware they are racing against time. He urgently demands to know how much time has elapsed since they lost consciousness. A bespectacled student reminds him he had dismissed them earlier. Kuro erupts in frustration, yelling for them to simply answer the question. The students are taken aback by their teacher's sudden, intense outburst. The glasses-wearing student nervously recalls that it occurred right after their task. He estimates that roughly 10 minutes have passed since the event. Kuro gazes down at the unconscious forms of his students on the ground. He begins to grasp the horrifying implications of the time discrepancy. His eyes widen in dread as he comprehends what this means for them. In Garden's world, the story reveals that a full 10 hours have gone by. Under the night sky, Tokyo blows on a pile of tinder, attempting to ignite a flame. At last, the tinder ignites, crackling into a small flicker of fire. He watches, relief washing over him as he finally achieves success. Shirashino glances up from her phone, sarcastically inquiring if he's finished. She points out that he wasted hours just to spark a simple fire. With a sigh, she wishes she had thought to bring a lighter. She muses that if Kaido had been present, it would have been done in an instant. Tokyo looks down, his face clouded with thought as he considers her words. She poses a straightforward question. Why did he choose to remain with her? Quickly, she brushes aside her own reasons for staying, deeming them insignificant. She grumbles about her phone's ineffectiveness and Kaido's overbearing nature. Tokyo confesses he doesn't dislike Kaido personally, but feels deeply unsettled. He struggles to comprehend Kaido's cruel treatment of the summoned beings. A sudden rustling from the dark woods interrupts their discussion. Both Tokyo and Shirashino jump at the unexpected sound. A figure steps out from the trees, urging them to relax. It's Nijikawa, waving cheerfully as he reveals himself. Shirashino and Tokoyo are taken aback to see him again. He explains he returned to share information after parting ways with Kaido. He gestures toward a rocky mountain where he and Kaido set up camp. With a grin, he mentions he noticed the glow from their fire. She eyes him suspiciously, knowing they just lit it. He discloses that his exploration revealed the island to be small and deserted, making escape impossible. Tokyo inquires if they've spotted the summoned creature. Both groups shake their heads. Nijikawa processes this news, looking contemplative. Tokyo then asks about Kaido's well-being, sensing something is off. Nijikawa's gaze sharpens as he begins to describe his partner's condition. He reveals that Kaido has been extremely tense since their arrival. He refuses to light a fire and remains vigilant for threats. Tokoyo's face reflects a dawning, fearful realization of the gravity of the situation. He understands that Kaido views all summoned beings as adversaries. Nijikawa remarks that it's hard to fault him for his deep-rooted animosity. Shirashino stares, shocked by the revelation regarding Kaido. Tokoyo is left speechless, questioning what could have led to such feelings. A close-up reveals a monstrous eye, hinting at a traumatic history. The source of his hatred is unveiled. He despises the summoned. By extension, Nijikawa adds that he also harbors resentment toward Tokoyo. Meanwhile, in the real world, two students have spotted their target on a rooftop. A summoned creature is depicted leaping between buildings, part of a previous event. The two students confirm their observations with confidence. The girl in the hat reveals they have located the last person seen with the summoned. Back at the campfire, Nijikawa snaps his fingers to grab Tokoyo's attention. He offers a comforting smile, assuring Tokoyo not to fret. A separate image shows Kaido, a flicker of flame dancing in his hand. Nijikawa reiterates his promise, insisting he stands with Tokoyo. He vows to provide undeniable proof of his loyalty right now. A close-up reveals his hand beginning to distort with unnatural energy. He unleashes his power, declaring World Open as a vortex begins to form. In the real world, the spy has identified a girl wearing glasses. Two girls watch another student, one recognizing her from a photo on her phone. The girl in the patterned hat shows the image, calling forth the creature. With a serious look, she points out that the girl is the spy they've been searching for. In a shadowy clearing, three other students gather around a flickering fire. A boy with white hair presents an item, claiming it to be his personal summoning tool. His dark-haired friend, Tokoyo, inspects the device, recognizing it as a sneak pendulum. Tokoyo's eyes widen in confusion as he inquires about the pendulum's function. Suddenly, the pendulum swings sharply, pointing at a startled blonde girl. The white-haired boy chuckles, revealing he knew Tokoyo was thinking of her. He explains how the pendulum can find anything the user has seen before. Tokoyo shuts his eyes, a shadowy image of a monster flashing in his mind. He is told to concentrate on the summoned being that ensnared them. The pendulum starts to vibrate and hum with a powerful otherworldly energy. The white-haired boy observes that the pendulum's slow response suggests a far-off target. He clarifies that the device can react to a target anywhere on the planet. In another realm, a dark-haired man rushes through a frantic hospital corridor. The gurneys he pushes rattle loudly as they race down the hallway. A student demands to know where their teacher is taking the unconscious students. Observing the urgent scene, the stern student and his friend realize they must act quickly. The stern student acknowledges that now isn't the time to confront the spy. His friend resolves that they must do what they can independently. She gazes at a picture of Tokyo, hoping finding the spy could help. The stern student watches her, his expression serious and resolute. Back in the other realm, Tokyo holds the still pendulum, looking perplexed. He suddenly realizes the pendulum isn't moving at all. This realization leads him to conclude they are in a completely different dimension. The white-haired boy quietly affirms that Tokyo's theory is accurate. He explains that they are trapped and must meet a condition to escape. His thoughts drift to their companion, Kaiso, who likely has his own violent agenda. He worries that telling Kaido about the pendulum might prompt him to hunt the monster. He admits he's unsure if encouraging such reckless behavior is wise. The group doesn't even understand what the summoned creature truly desires from them. The white-haired boy gravely informs Tokyo that the creature is likely after him. A young man, Tokoyo, observes with a serious and thoughtful demeanor. His white-haired friend, Nijikawa, insists that Tokoyo should keep the pendulum. He explains it will reveal the summoned creature's location if it ever attacks. In this new world, a powerful waterfall tumbles down a rugged cliff. Tokoyo is seen in the wilderness, poised and ready to hunt. He carefully aims his spear at a school of fish swimming in the water. With a swift lunge, he successfully spears his prey from the river. Meanwhile, his companion Shiroshino works at a large woven drying rack. A great splash marks Tokoyo's energetic exit from the water. Shirashino turns around, having heard him call out her name. He proudly displays his impressive catch of several large fish strung together. The freshly caught fish glisten, ready to be prepared for a meal. His companion expresses her astonishment at the incredible haul he has brought back. She immediately takes a large bite out of one of the raw fish. While eating, she shares her delight and laments her own dwindling food supply. She regrets not bringing more survival tools for their unexpected predicament. Tokoyo holds a knife, acknowledging that her summoning ability provided the useful tool. He decides to give the extra fish to their other friends. Shirashino cautions him to tread carefully near Kaido's hideout. With the pendulum in hand, he assures her he knows everyone's location. He vows to return immediately if anything unusual occurs. Perched on a cliff, a dark, ominous cave entrance looms. The view focuses on the deep, impenetrable darkness inside the cave. A hand grips the pendulum within, pulsating with fierce energy. Tokoyo reaches the cave's entrance, calling out to the figure inside. He raises a fish, extending it as a peace offering. A voice from the shadows coldly dismisses his gesture of friendship. Tokyo sets the fish down, urging the figure to reconsider. A fierce glare emerges from the shadows, stating the matter is non-negotiable. Out of nowhere, a massive summoned beast appears behind an unsuspecting Tokyo. It tells him there's only one way for them to escape. The creature reminds him that he must slay it to gain freedom. Tokoyo acknowledges this but defiantly states he won't kill it. His eyes narrow as he demands to know the creature's true intentions. He confronts the beast, pointing out it hasn't harmed them and must have another agenda. An alliance is proposed, suggesting they could collaborate to find a solution. The creature expresses its annoyance, blaming a tool summoned by a human named Nijikawa. Frustrated, the beast crushes a fish, commenting that Tokyo is just as expected. It scoffs, noting that a typical human would never attempt to communicate. The summon reveals it knows Tokoyo has been sneaking visits to avoid Shirashino's interference. Tokyo's eyes widen in shock, realizing his secret has been uncovered. The beast leans in threateningly, asking if Tokuyo truly wishes to know its ultimate aim. It explains that its goal is to make him understand the only way to escape this place. As a distant explosion sounds, the creature reiterates that Tokuyo must kill it to be free. Kaido is seen observing the forest fire he ignited, his expression grim and resolute. In the charred woods, Nijikawa approaches Kaido, who stands amidst the devastation. Nijikawa calmly addresses his intense companion, breaking the heavy silence. He gently scolds Kaido, saying there's no need to incinerate the entire forest. Kaido begins recounting his actions from the previous day to justify his reasoning. He reveals that the trees he burned regrew exactly where they once stood. From the shadows, Kaido asks Nijikawa if he grasps the dreadful implication. He declares they are ensnared in a repeating cycle and must eliminate the summon to escape. With his eyes shut in resignation, Kaido admits his fiery trap failed to lure the creature. Nijikawa listens quietly, his serious demeanor indicating he comprehends their dire situation. His profile is shown as he silently contemplates the truth in Kaido's grim theory. Tokoyo is seen scaling a cliff, acknowledging that Kaido's assessment is likely accurate. On the rock face, he pauses, his expression troubled and lost in contemplation. Meanwhile, Shirashino wipes sweat from her brow, looking drained yet satisfied. She proudly admires a large shelter she constructed from leaves, declaring it impressive. Stepping inside, she wonders how the interior of her creation feels. She rolls onto a bed of leaves, pleasantly surprised by its unexpected coziness. Gazing up at the leafy ceiling, she finds it at least blocks the wind and rain. A drop of water lands on her cheek as she admits it's surprisingly comfortable for sleeping. Her mood shifts to despair as she questions what she is even doing here. She wonders why she is constructing a shelter and how long she intends to remain trapped. Curled up, she sadly admits how much she misses her own terrible bed. A young man with dark hair stands frozen in a forest, his wide eyes reflecting sheer shock. Beneath the starry sky, a blonde girl softly utters Sayuki's name in Makabe, revealing her solitude. Nearby, Tokyo stands pensively outside a makeshift shelter they constructed in the unfamiliar wilderness. Amidst the starry backdrop, a single word emerges, heralding the onset of a deep reflection. Alone on a grassy knoll, Tokyo reflects on their dire and lonely predicament. His friend observes from behind, contemplating the fate of everyone ensnared with them. He grimly acknowledges that their only option is to eliminate the summoned being to break free. A voice interrupts his dark solitude, calling out from behind. Shino gently scolds him for returning without a word, and he apologizes for his silence. He clarifies his quietness, stating he didn't want to disturb her while she was resting. She regards him with skepticism, simply questioning his excuse with a "so?" She inquires about Kaido, assuming Tokuyo had delivered the fish he caught earlier. Tokuyo's flustered and guilty demeanor reveals he hasn't seen their other classmate. Shirashino accurately deduces he didn't go, prompting him to finally be truthful with her. He appears anxious, beads of sweat forming as he readies himself to reveal his true feelings. She comments that she suspected he would find it easier to confide in her. Together on the hill, he earnestly apologizes for not sharing his genuine thoughts. He begins his confession, stating he holds no animosity towards Kaido. In fact, he confesses he genuinely believes Kaido is someone worth emulating. His hand grips his knee tightly, indicating a profound internal struggle with his words. He admits the one thing he cannot accept is Kaido's aggressive stance against the summoned. With a vulnerable gaze, he questions if this core disagreement makes him a monster. He explains that the summoned told him his human emotions are fundamentally twisted. She finds the situation ridiculous, questioning a summoned being's attempt to teach humanity. Laughing, she challenges him, asking if he truly believes Kaido's way is the only correct path. Her expression turns serious as she bluntly calls him foolish for thinking that way. She lectures him, clarifying that ordinary humans constantly ponder what they deem right. With fierce determination, she insists he shouldn't adhere to beliefs he cannot accept. She demands he stop concealing truths and respond to her honestly from now on. Standing on the expansive hillside, she inquires about his future plans. His eyes narrow with determination as he prepares to give her an unexpected, sincere response. He steps closer and openly confesses his feelings for Shirashino-san. Her eyes widen in utter disbelief, her mind racing to process his sudden admission. Tokuyo gazes back at her, not with anxiety but with a warm and genuine smile. The young man's eyes widen in a moment of shocking, profound realization. After his abrupt confession, Tokuyo laughs nervously, questioning what he just said. Shirashino, blushing, tells him to stop making their awkward situation even more uncomfortable. He apologizes, but she insists it's strange as he expresses his beliefs. Amidst the vast scenery, he explains it's the one feeling that resides within him. His foot firmly plants, confident that this feeling is not distorted in any way. Perched on a cliff, Tokyo now clutches a small, glimmering knife. His expression shifts as he senses an abrupt change in the atmosphere. With a thunderous sound, the very world seems to twist around his hand. A masked, armored figure materializes, expressing curiosity about this sudden turn of events. A colossal feathered beast appears behind a coyote as he grips his weapon tightly. The armored being lets out a dry, disbelieving laugh. Garden expresses surprise at how quickly Tokyo has changed his mind. Holding his knife out, Tokyo insists on posing a question first. He asks the towering creature why it is so eager to meet its end. The beast reveals its simple wish for Tokyo to be the one to end its life. Tokuyo, seen in profile, questions the reasoning behind this strange request. The creature hints that this action might lead to his liberation. As it talks, Kaido's silhouette appears, his destiny intertwined with this. Kaido's visage is revealed, marked by grim determination and resolve. A close-up of his eye shows the fierce concentration of his solitary quest. One footprint remains imprinted in the soft, barren ground. He glances back at the trail of footprints he's left behind. His determination is evident as he forges ahead on his solitary journey. Inside a sterile facility, a medical cart rattles amid urgent shouts. A dark-haired man, Sensei, slams his hand down, silencing the chaos. A blond man in a makara confronts Sensei, demanding clarity on the situation. As he pushes gurneys, Sensei promises to provide details later and inquires about a device. A long-haired woman observes, her face a blend of confusion and worry. Her worry morphs into shock as she spots the unconscious Shirashino calling her Oho. Panic floods her expression at this unforeseen sight. Sensei urgently reiterates his promise to explain, questioning her presence. The woman protests loudly, her face a mask of urgency, insisting they lack time. A man screams in terror, revealing that 70 hours have elapsed in their realm. The unconscious bodies of Shirashino and Kaido are brought in on gurneys. In the facility, technicians attend to the comatose Nijikawa and Tokuyo. Complicated, wire-laden headsets are carefully fitted onto the students' heads. Their worried classmates, led by Takashi, observe the urgent actions unfold. Takashi admits his uncertainty about the outcome, his face etched with concern. He asserts with conviction that their friend Tokoyo is in serious peril. Sensei confers with his team in a high-tech control room. He identifies the entity's main goal as triggering Tokoyo's release. A technician initiates a scan while Sensei explains Garden's cruel psychological tactics. Garden aims to dismantle Tokoyo's idealized perception of humanity. A female colleague realizes this is the monster's true objective. The woman requests a specific instance of the monster's scheme. Sensei's demeanor turns serious as he prepares to outline the final trial. He reveals that the act must be something Tokyo would never choose to do. The ultimate act involves killing a non-resisting summon for personal gain. In the other realm, Kaido grasps the dire implications of this trial. He stands resolutely before the dark mouth of a cave. Kaido understands that if Garden prevails, it will be too late for rescue. Back at school, a student reacts in shock to the new revelations. A girl with a flower in her hair discovers her partner is a spy. Her friend, a girl in a beanie, silently confirms this with a nod. The first girl, utterly baffled, questions what her friends are discussing. Inumakura demands an explanation from Sensei regarding the disastrous situation. Sensei admits he had a nagging suspicion a spy was among his students. He confirms that Garden exploited that student to abduct Tokoyo into its realm. The kidnapping effectively ensnared Okoyo within the entity's mental domain. The woman questions whether their current actions can truly thwart Garden's scheme. Wearing the headset, Sensei reveals his desperate mission to rescue them. He intends to summon the same mental realm to connect his consciousness with theirs. A technician confirms that the vital mental link has been successfully formed. Sensei, flanked by his colleagues, declares that the operation is about to commence. He vows to extract them before Tokyo kills the defenseless Garden. With a serious demeanor, the formally dressed young man issues a stern warning. A dark-haired man issues a final firm command to prioritize Oho's rescue. His anxious gaze betrays a profound worry that Tokyo may not endure the mission. With a vow to return shortly, he vanishes in a dazzling burst of light. His eyes snap open in an unfamiliar location, focus sharp and immediate. He commands his power, demanding the world to open. Crouched in an odd forest, he quickly surveys his new environment. The rustling of leaves in the underbrush piques his interest. As he peers deeper into the woods, he senses something significant ahead. His focus sharpens as the sound of rushing water intensifies. Through the leaves, he catches a glimpse of a figure bathing beneath a waterfall. He steps into the clearing, his expression serious and resolute. A blonde girl, Shirashino, stands in the water, oblivious to his presence. A sudden splash startles her and her eyes widen in surprise. She spins around in shock, exclaiming her astonishment at his arrival. Calling him sensei, she demands to know how he got there. Without a word, he lunges forward, gripping her shoulders urgently. Desperation etched on his face. He inquires about Tokoyo's location. Flustered and bewildered, she stutters as he insists she lead him there immediately. A wide shot of the landscape captures her bewildered reaction lingering in the air. Now dressed, Shirashino questions the meaning behind releasing the distortion. The teacher confirms that a being named Garden seeks to free Tokoyo. He urges her to hurry, emphasizing that time is slipping away. Nervously, she agrees, grasping the seriousness of his words. They soon spot a blond young man lounging casually by a stream. The blond man greets them, remarking on the rarity of the teacher's appearance. Standing next to a puzzled Shirashino, the teacher offers a knowing grin. The blond man reveals he is aware of the teacher's secret pendulum summoning skill. The teacher admits this was something he preferred to keep under wraps. In a barren wasteland, Tokyo faces a monstrous masked creature. He questions the meaning of the term release, confusion etched on his face. The beast confirms that this realm is its domain, yet it remains trapped. A vision reveals the beast enslaved by human summoners. Tokoyo asks if this is the reason the beast desires its own death. The creature's sharp maw opens as it begins to clarify its reasoning. It discloses that Tokyo possesses his own release, a shocking truth. Tokoyo's eyes widen as he repeats the phrase, struggling to grasp its significance. The beast seems to regret its revelation, admitting it has revealed too much. Pressing its clawed hand to the ground, it urges him to complete the task. The creature pleads with him to take the knife and end its life to trigger his release. It explains that once he is freed, countless other worlds will be summoned. Tokyo grips the knife, his expression hardening with newfound understanding. Abstract, diamond-shaped eyes flash, symbolizing the many trapped beings. The beast's voice explains that their worlds will come to them instead. He feels compelled to act to save the other summons facing the same fate. Tokoyo declares his readiness to sacrifice his life for this cause. With a sharp click, he turns the blade away from the beast. Instead, he presses the cold steel against his own throat, shocking the creature. The beast's face contorts in disbelief at this unexpected turn. Its eyes widen in shock as it demands to know what he is doing. Tokyo calmly replies that the knife was never intended for the beast. He states his terms. Everyone else can go free, but he remains. The creature sees this as a threat, a desperate attempt at manipulation. He admits, his voice trembling slightly, that he doesn't truly wish to die. The creature's jagged mouth reveals its profound disappointment in the boy's ploy. Suddenly, the sound of shifting stones reverberates from the cliffs above. Both the boy and the beast glance up, startled by the sudden noise. A figure is seen descending the rocky cliff. Tokoyo recognizes the newcomer, exclaiming Kaido-kun in surprise. Kaido's gaze is filled with grim, unwavering resolve. The beast emits a low growl as the newcomer draws near. Without warning, Kaido's hands burst into a fierce display of flames. Tokoyo yells a warning, urging Kaido to hold on. Kaido dismisses him, ordering Tokoyo to move and accusing him of collusion. Desperately, Tokoyo insists that it's not what Kaido believes. Kaido scoffs, questioning how he can say that while protecting the beast. With his patient gone, Kaido's expression hardens as he commands Tokoyo to move. The beast observes the conflict, determined to end this farce itself. In another location, the teacher's hand hovers near a vibrating needle-like object. The teacher guides Shiroshino and the blonde boy, directing them forward. Shiroshino turns to the teacher, inquiring about Kaido's location. The blonde boy admits uncertainty, stating they haven't been working together. The teacher reveals that Kaido's mental state has been deteriorating. He explains that it took 2 hours in the real world to reach them. Shiroshino realizes this means 5 days have elapsed for the trapped students. The teacher speculates that the garden used a spy to target specific students. He concludes that the A student Kaido is likely the key. Back at the standoff, Tokoyo prevails, holding the knife defensively. He makes a swift, desperate motion as if to strike. Kaido scoffs derisively at the boy's futile gesture. He mockingly questions if Tokoyo plans to stab him just to defend the monster. With flames dancing in his hand, Kaido boasts of his history of slaying summoned beings. The beast acknowledges Tokoyo's grasp of Kaido's deep-seated animosity. Tokoyo fervently argues that they must break the cycle of hatred. Kaido quietly concurs, revealing this is why he chose to become a summoner. He shares his grim objective to incinerate all summoned beings for the sake of both sides. The beast notes that Kaido's conviction is unwavering. His mind is set. Tokoyo is left speechless, struggling to comprehend what he's hearing. The beast tells Tokoyo that reasoning with Kaido is futile. It continues its assessment, labeling Kaido as an extreme example of something. The creature concludes that Kaido is, at his core, entirely human. This purity enables him to serve as a mirror reflecting the truth of his beliefs. With a roar, Kaido charges forward, telling Tokoyo there's no escape. Tokoyo's eyes widen as he confronts this imposed vision of humanity. He turns, using the beast's body as a shield against the oncoming attack. Kaido's face shows shock and disbelief. The beast sneers, aware that Kaido is trying to impose his ideals onto Tokoyo. The beast's masked eyes observe the violent lesson unfold. One eye of the beast reflects the scene with a sneer. A massive explosion of fire engulfs Tokoyo as his vision of humanity warps. Kaido stares in disbelief, watching the flames engulf his target. A young man with spiky black hair stares in disbelief at his opponent's unexpected survival. Amidst the smoldering ruins, Tokoyo protests, crying out about the unbearable heat. Kaido's shock morphs into a chilling realization about the true essence of Tokyo. The summoned beast, Garden, yells at Tokyo, urging him to leave Kaido alone. Garden's masked visage fills the frame as it urgently instructs Tokoyo to flee. Tokoyo's inner thoughts culminate in a horrifying acknowledgement. He's a monster. A close-up of Tokoyo's wide, horrified eye reveals his dawning self-awareness. Kaido unleashes another fiery assault, which Tokyo notes is not directed at him. Tokyo watches in bewilderment as the flames streak past him. His expression is one of pure confusion, realizing the fire was aimed elsewhere. Kaido's face contorts with manic certainty, questioning if the attack was for him. A close-up of his eye reveals the shocking accusation: Tokoyo is a summoned being. The full force of the fiery blast crashes into the unsuspecting Tokyo. Engulfed in flames, Tokoyo grunts and cries out in agony from the searing pain. Kaido laughs maniacally, taunting his opponent about the fire's intensity. He shouts that no ordinary human could have survived such an onslaught. Kaido describes how a human would be writhing in pain, eyes glazing from the heat. Towering over the burning boy, he condemns him as a monster masquerading as human. The word masquerading reverberates, triggering a memory of a girl's face in Koyo's mind. Tokoyo's eyes widen in terror as a strange humming energy warps his vision. Smoke curls from his arm as he gazes in confusion at his own transformation. Kaido stares in disbelief at the impossible sight, questioning what is happening to Tokyo. His eyes widen in horror, finally grasping the dreadful truth of Tokoyo's identity. The Beast Garden senses a powerful distortion saturating the air around the rocky terrain. Garden's masked face is shown in profile, noting they have arrived just in time. A man in a black coat and two students confront the massive summoned beast. The man in black smirks, pleased that the beast is still standing. He snaps his fingers, dismissing the beast's inquiry about his purpose as obvious. Garden recognizes the man, demanding to know why he has come to this place. The man's eye narrows with cold determination as he prepares to unleash his power. His two students watch in shock as he declares, "World, open up." Massive dark pillars erupt from the ground, brutally impaling the unsuspecting beast. Garden cries out in pain as black blood spews from its mouth and wounds. The man in black calmly states his intention to thwart the beast's plans. His students can only stand frozen in horror at the swift, merciless execution. The beast's form begins to disintegrate into glitch-like black particles. With its final breath, the beast acknowledges its defeat, grasping the man's intent. In an abstract realm, Kaido tells someone they have arrived too late. Tokoyo's body dissolves as he questions what is happening to him. The teacher's voice explains that Tokyo's vision of humanity has finally shattered. He reveals there exists another way to unlock Tokoyo's power. The students listen intently, learning that the method doesn't require killing the teacher. In the abstract world, Tokyo now holds a knife, his body thrumming with energy. Kaido's eyes widen as he senses Tokyo's sudden violent intent. Tokuyo lunges in a frantic, uncontrolled motion, slicing Kaido's arm with the blade. Kaido hisses in pain from the unexpected wound inflicted by his ally. Tokuyo's face is a mask of shock at his own violent action. The teacher's plan is unveiled. Tokyo must confront his hatred for humanity. Tokyo stammers that he never meant to harm Kaido, his mind fracturing. The act triggers a massive surge of dark energy that erupts from Tokuyo's body. In the wasteland, the instructor ponders that this approach was quicker than anticipated. He realizes that no matter how long he watches, understanding them is impossible. His expression is icy as he concludes his thoughts directed at you humans. A final dark spike pierces the creature's head, ensuring its demise. Inside a control room, a monitor beeps, displaying stable life signs. A bespectacled man exclaims that the students have returned from another realm. Beside the teacher, a blonde official proclaims the rescue operation a success. Yet the teacher appears deeply troubled, sensing something is dreadfully amiss. Tokoyo lies on a medical bed, eyes wide with fear, wires attached to his head. The chapter opens with the title, "A World Where You're Not Human," featuring Tokoyo wired up. Energy crackles from the wires as he sits up, a blonde man watching him. The blonde man congratulates the teacher, but he insists something feels off. Inumakura, the blonde man, informs his colleague that the students have awakened. Tokoyo stares at his hand in horror as his face and fingers start to glitch. Next to him, Shorashino stirs, rubbing her eyes and groaning softly. She glances around, sleepily asking where they are, still disoriented from the experience. Tokoyo, his face warping, calls out her name in a panic. He flails, questioning what's happening as two other students awaken nearby. Two of Shorashino's guardians rush in, calling out to their Oho. One of the awakened students retorts that they could ask the guardians the same thing. The teacher grits his teeth, realizing they woke before Tokoyo's garden was released. One guardian urgently warns Shirashino to move away from Tokoyo at once. Seeing the glitches worsen, the teacher orders Tokoyo to be quarantined. A massive explosion tears through the hallway wall, shocking a group of students. The student leader and his friends stare in shock at the unfolding chaos. A bespectacled man reports a worldview expansion as alarms blare. The wall continues to crumble under the pressure of the uncontrolled energy release. A hand reaches out, snatching someone's phone amid the turmoil. The student leader shouts at his friends, urging them to hurry and evacuate. The guardian forcefully pulls a struggling Shirashino away from the danger. Shirashino apologizes for breaking her promise and joining the special forces. She pleads, promising to comply with whatever they want if they let her go. Her eyes widen in confusion as a squad of armed soldiers storms the hallway. The soldiers appear just as bewildered, questioning if the people here are their targets. The Guardian observes with a grim, knowing expression her patience wearing thin. She reminds the student leader of another promise he broke on the first day. That promise was to stay away from Tokoyo, who is now undergoing a monstrous transformation. A grotesque, multi-eyed appendage bursts from Tokoyo's shoulder and back. The student leader Takashi calls out Tokoyo's name in horrified disbelief. Tokoyo's eye, filled with terror, mirrors his friend's shocked expression. A shadowy dragon-like entity detaches from Tokoyo's back, pulsating with power. The creature lunges with terrifying speed, crashing into Takashi and sending him flying. Suddenly, it is intercepted, its body sliced into multiple pieces mid-air. A young man with blonde hair, Sayuki, unsheathes his blade after the swift strike. He lands gracefully, commenting that he didn't expect to encounter Tokyo like this. Takuya watches as the severed pieces of the monster writhe and dissolve on the floor. His own eye reflects the horror as he gazes at his still transformed arm. The teacher and Takashi call out Sayuki's name in surprise and alarm. Tokoyo questions what is happening to his own arm, which remains monstrous. The teacher screams at Seki, begging him not to treat Tokoyo like a summoned being. Seki, a young man with golden locks, gazes coldly, determination etched on his face. His gaze sharpens as he proclaims his foremost goal is safeguarding the true world. A squad of soldiers, armed and focused, rushes purposefully down the corridor. Kashima, a bespectacled student, questions the abrupt order, confusion evident on his face. Shock floods his features as he comprehends the dreadful implications of the command. A man clad in dark attire confronts Seki, asserting he must not interfere with the boy. He cautions that resorting to force will only worsen Tokyo's perilous distortion. In agony, Tokyo clutches his head, bewildered by the fate of his unique eye. The man in the coat realizes that Tokoyo's disdain for humans triggers his release. Inumakura, the blonde man, pieces together that this was a scheme devised by Garden. New orders are issued to the soldiers. Stop treating their target like an ordinary human. Spotting Tokoyo, they command him to stay still, having received the go-ahead to fire. Desperately, the man in the coat screams for the soldiers to halt their advance. Amidst the chaos, a single footstep echoes calmly on the debris. A figure looms over the kneeling, tormented Tokoyo, surrounded by dark energy. A masked student appears, urging the suffering boy to simply trust his own heart. Both the man in the coat and Saiki are taken aback by this unexpected intervention. Inumakura's expression shifts to shock as he recognizes the masked figure. In another location, the man in the coat angrily demands to know what transpired. His phone rings unanswered, the call originating from a small, rabbit-like creature. On a school rooftop, Usachun laments her failure to reach her associate. A girl with glasses frantically insists she knows nothing about the recent happenings. She explains her memory fades after the entrance ceremony, with no recall of the special forces. Her classmates listen intently as she describes waking up in an eerie, abandoned factory. A stern teacher observes her closely, concluding she seems genuine in her amnesia. One of her female classmates glares, disbelief and anger etched on her face. She confronts the girl with amnesia, claiming she has photos to validate their partnership. The photo depicts the girl flashing a peace sign before a monstrous, swirling entity. Examining the evidence, she concedes that the person in the image could be her. Yet, she feels a deep disconnect, insisting it wasn't truly her in that moment. A vision of the masked student reveals her consciousness was seized and manipulated. The stern teacher watches, calling the situation unfortunate and addressing her as sensei. The masked student explains he freed everyone's consciousness just before his own defeat. Inumakura discloses he made an exception for a student named Kaido. Saiki realizes this must be how Inumakura managed to escape the institution. The sensei expresses his astonishment, noting Inumakura had concealed one of his abilities. In a devastated landscape, an armed soldier shouts a warning to two figures. He commands Inumakura to distance himself from the boy, labeling him a monster. Inumakura muses calmly about the intriguing nature of humanity. He lectures on humanity's habit of designating various beings as killable monsters. His dark explanation unfolds, leading to a cruel conclusion. Inumakura directly applies this label to the suffering boy, calling him Tokuyo. The name acts as a catalyst, causing Tokoyo's eye to throb with dark energy. Both the sensei and Saiki watch in horror, grasping the gravity of the situation. A sinister, multi-eyed distortion manifests on Inumakura's face as he observes the outcome. With grim resolve, Seiki unsheathes his katana, bracing for the worst. The sensei unleashes a scream of helpless fury at the unfolding disaster. A group of students recoils in utter shock and terror. Caught in the explosion, the soldiers are obliterated by the surge of dark power. Seiki leaps straight into the swirling vortex of darkness, ready to confront the fight. His expression hardens as he faces the overwhelming force head-on. Other students scatter in panic from the growing wave of destruction. A bespectacled student glances back, fear etched on his face as chaos approaches. In a school corridor, Makabe and Shirashino stand in front of a classroom door. Peering through the windows, their eyes widen in fear. In a desperate bid for safety, McCabe slams the heavy door shut. Inside, he holds a shocked Shirashino close as they listen intently. A grotesque, shadowy hand presses against the frosted window. Shirashino stares in horror, her eyes wide with recognition. As the hand slides down, she whispers Koyo's name in disbelief. With urgency, Makabe insists she must forget everything. He specifically tells her to erase the memory of the student with that name. With a grim look, he declares that Tokyo likely no longer exists. Shirashino is left speechless, stunned by his devastating revelation. His final command to forget him lingers as dark energy hums outside. Scientists are seen fleeing from a monstrous, dragon-like entity in a lab. Amidst a storm of swirling energy, a lab-coated man screams in triumph. An unseen voice resonates, urging someone to heed their body. The disembodied command continues, pushing them to let go. A masked figure appears, urging the unseen person to reveal their true world. Overwhelmed by this encouragement, a young man named Tokoyo unleashes a massive wave of power. His consciousness is violently yanked into a bizarre swirling vortex. He catches a glimpse of a massive sealed metal door, questioning its ownership. Suddenly, a colossal dragon-like beast bursts into the facility as scientists flee. One scientist screams in disbelief that the world-view shield can't contain this impossible expansion. The expanding reality grotesquely stretches, pulling a fleeing man into its chaotic mass. The masked figure calmly instructs Tokoya to witness the destruction he has caused. He explains that the very humans who rejected Tokyo are now being consumed. Their ordinary world is being twisted and devoured one by his worldview. With dawning horror, Tokyo realizes that everyone is being consumed. Amidst the chaos, a blond man named Seki struggles, questioning if his world is being accepted. He groans, exerting himself to resist the overwhelming force. In a moment of crisis, he questions his identity, wondering if he is the true monster. Cursing the situation, his eyes widen in alarm at an approaching threat. He recoils as a new wave of destructive energy rushes toward him. A dark-haired man named Inumakura appears, asking if Seki is all right. Seki recognizes the newcomer, his face a mask of shock and disbelief. Inumakura urgently tells Seki to hurry and enter his summon space. With a powerful whoosh, he pulls Psyche through a newly opened portal. A group of students watches the dramatic escape in stunned silence. Now in a safe dimension, Inumakura confirms that Seki is okay. He expresses admiration for Seki's ability to uphold his own worldview. Psyche looks down, clutching his arm from the immense strain of the summoning. He explains it was an emergency and he had to summon something stable. He apologizes for the barren, empty nature of the summoned space. Suddenly, Seki is struck by a powerful blow, his face twisted in shock. Inumakura reveals he left Tokoyo in Seki's care, trusting he could be managed. He gestures at the chaos, declaring that everything has gone completely wrong. One confused student asks what plan he is referring to. A young man with light hair, seen in profile, clicks his tongue in clear annoyance. A serious man in a dark coat confronts his subordinate, demanding to understand his strategy. The superior dismisses their current hideout, insisting that evasion won't resolve anything. The subordinate confesses that his original aim was to honor the subject's desires. Now upright, he asserts that a more aggressive tactic is necessary. His superior questions skeptically whether this new aggressive plan is feasible. With quiet resolve, the subordinate assures that his revised approach will work. One of the other men remarks that this new method appears quite cruel. Deep beneath the surface, a massive reinforced door starts to vibrate and hum violently. The intense tremor sends a blonde girl in a school uniform tumbling to the ground. A worried woman with long hair rushes to assist the fallen girl. The girl, Oho, inquires with her guard about the shaking from below. Her guard wonders what could possibly be occurring in the underground facility. Accepting a hand up, Oho expresses gratitude to a boy with spiky hair. She appears utterly perplexed by his explanation regarding a failed sealing attempt. He clarifies that the adults believed they could manage the situation with him. She angrily swats his hand away, demanding to know his purpose there. He calmly states that he is evacuating, just like she is. The guard identifies the boy as Nijikawa, a classmate of Shirishino-san. She instructs both students to get into a waiting car, much to the girl's annoyance. Inside the vehicle, Oho protests being separated from Tokyo while stuck with Nijikawa. The car races down the broad city street, initiating the evacuation. Nijikawa reflects that he always found her presence in class peculiar. He points out the oddity of a major company's heir joining the special forces. Oho glares at him, clearly irritated by his line of inquiry. Her guard expresses relief at having a seemingly dependable boy in her class. Oho vehemently insists that she and Nijiko are not friends. The guard cautions her not to be deceived by his attractive appearance. Nijikawa acknowledges that Shirishino-san isn't fond of him. The guard's expression shifts as he mentions her connection to Tokyo. He finds their unlikely pairing intriguing, which only frustrates Oho further. He admits he enjoys watching their dynamic play out. Oho watches on, bewildered by his odd and personal insights. He insists she followed her heart to be with Tokoyo in their special class. The guard demands to know what he's implying about the summoner's intentions. Her eyes narrow, filled with suspicion and concern at his probing inquiries. Nijikawa clarifies his statement, redirecting the focus of the question. He asserts he should be asking what plans she has for him. In a school corridor, reality starts to warp and twist with a strange energy. The walls explode open, releasing a swarm of grotesque fish-like creatures. One of the multi-eyed monsters emits a horrifying screech. The creatures splash and squirm, filling the hallway with chaotic energy. A voice explains that summoners conceal meta-beings that shouldn't exist in their reality. A colossal ethereal entity reveals that humans never intended for Tokyo to become a summoner. It clarifies that beings like them can only exist under human control. A close-up shows a face engulfed in shadow, an eye glowing with dawning dread. The entity's voice resonates over a cityscape that begins to shake. It reveals that Tokyo has been deceived by everyone all along. A monstrous entity bursts forth from a skyscraper, a swirling mass of tentacles and eyes. On the streets below, civilians flee in sheer terror from the catastrophe. From an office window, people gaze in disbelief at the unfolding calamity. The crowd gazes upward, their faces marked by shock and fear. The ground trembles violently as a bespectacled man watches in horror. Inside their vehicle, the three occupants are left speechless by the monstrous sight. Oho peers out the window, incredulously questioning what that creature could be. Nijikawa darkly observes that Tokyo is finally revealing its true nature. The guard pounds her fist on the steering wheel, cursing the leaked information. Her eyes reflect a grim determination mixed with frustration. She turns to her charge, apologizing for the disastrous turn of events. On her phone, she arranges for a new driver to ensure Oho's safety. She verifies their meeting point, her expression tense and intent. Oho listens quietly, her face inscrutable as she processes the turmoil. A black SUV races toward them, its engine roaring. Makura, a man in a sharp suit, steps out and raises his hand. The guard recognizes him with a weary sigh as she exits her vehicle. She wonders aloud why they would send him of all people. Mikura greets her as Makabe-san, brandishing a key fob. McCabe sarcastically questions his claim of merely being nearby. She expresses hope that his timely arrival was just a coincidence. He teases her for being overly serious and ruining the mood. She entrusts her charge to him, warning him not to yield to her demands. Makabe watches as the new vehicle speeds away down the deserted street. Makura drives on, his expression serious and focused. The car's display shows an error indicating a complete media blackout in the area. Nijikawa explains that the government has designated the area as a worldview protection zone. Oho poses a question, her expression serious and worried. Nijikawa concludes that the summoners aim to erase Tokoyo from existence. He turns to Oho, inquiring about her thoughts on their predicament. He speculates they might be taken to have their memories wiped by a meta-being. Oho gazes out the window, contemplating his grim hypothesis. She admits that if his theory holds, she feels a bit let down. Her gaze drifts, lost in thoughts that extend beyond their immediate peril. A voice dismisses the notion, claiming their organization lacks such meta-beings. Ojo holds up a handkerchief, asserting that some things can never be erased. Nijikawa asks what she has been staring at all this time. She reveals the plain white handkerchief she has been clutching. Nijikawa looks down at it, his expression shifting to one of understanding. Oho asserts that the handkerchief proves Tokoyo was once human. On the city streets, people scatter from a wave of distorting energy. A monstrous, multi-limbed beast looms over terrified onlookers. A man's arm stretches into a shadowy tendril as he questions his own identity. His mind shatters, a swirling eye symbolizing his loss of self. A monstrous four-eyed visage grins, reveling in its transformation. Inside a car, a man named Makura slams the door with intent. He reports that his mission to replace the driver has gone as planned. He praises Oho for her impressive and successful strategy. Nijikawa in the back seat is completely baffled by this news. Makura calmly asks Oho for their destination, ready for her next order. Oho grips her seatbelt, her eyes wide with fierce, silent resolve. In a warped city, a woman requests a damage report. The worldview has expanded a mile, a distortion the summoners cannot halt. On a rooftop in the city, a woman on the line insists the event can't be erased. In a throbbing, organic realm, a man named Siki is questioned about his whereabouts. He informs them that he has returned to reality, although the expansion has calmed. Seki notes that this new realm is far stranger than the previous one. In the distance, a scythe-wielding man assaults an unseen foe. The woman on the phone urgently instructs him to keep the connection active. She realizes their link indicates Koryu is still warping the world. She concludes that he must still perceive this as the human realm. A frantic security guard commands a speeding SUV to halt immediately. The vehicle disregards the order, crashing through the barricade violently. In disbelief, the guard curses the driver for his reckless behavior. Inside the Oho warrants, they realize there's no turning back from their path. Her eyes widen, shocked by the weight of their choice. The driver, Makura, confirms their navigation systems have been disabled. A jittery Nijikawa asks the Oho what their next step should be. She explains to Nijikawa that this is precisely why she allowed him to stay. He's told to retrieve something, leaving him utterly confused. Saki clarifies that their communication is possible due to Tokyo's remaining humanity. He grimly foresees that it's only a matter of time before they lose contact. Seiki resolves they must act before that vital connection vanishes. The woman on the line listens intently, her expression grave. A student with glasses inquires about what taking action actually entails. A dark-haired man reveals their goal is to restore Tokoyo's humanity. He presents an ornate dagger, identifying it as a meta-being. Seki explains its function involves piercing a target's head. The bespectacled student learns this act can seal and preserve a mind. The scythe wielder scoffs at the idea of calling this preservation. His female colleague cynically agrees, if that's what they wish to label it. The student argues that this term strips away freedom and identity. He suggests this manipulative approach is how that garden was formed. A mysterious masked figure appears, questioning what the issue is. He urges the unseen Koyo to surrender and allow his power to grow. The masked figure issues a chilling command to abandon all humanity. An SUV speeds through a city where reality is unraveling into abstract forms. Inside, a blonde girl watches a small pendulum she conjures, vibrating and pointing the way. She instructs her driver, Makura, to keep their course straight amid the chaos. Makura acknowledges her command, stating he depends on her for accurate guidance. The vehicle races down a road that twists and bends into an impossible curve. A spiky-haired boy observes how reality itself is being manipulated and swept away. He explains that everything is being drawn into a new, expanding worldview. With a grim look, he notes they are heading straight into the storm's eye. Makura reveals their car is shielded by the latest worldview technology from the company. He feels assured they will remain safe as long as they stay inside. The girl realizes that without the pendulum, they would be lost in this void forever. Her companions sarcastically thank her for the navigation, his face weary. He then questions her strategy, doubting they can approach Decoil without a plan. She stays silent and focused, a bead of sweat trickling down her cheek. He continues to express his belief that their words won't reach him. The boy fears Tokoyo has transformed into an unrecognizable entity lost to his power. A close-up of his eye reveals his deep concern for their friend's transformation. Somewhere else, a masked figure inquires whether the altered being retains any human emotions. An abstract, monstrous visage symbolizing Tokyo remains silent in response. The masked man's gaze is icy, observing the events unfold with chilling focus. With a mighty push, the SUV breaks through the last barrier of distortion. Makura proclaims they are on the verge of entering a transformed realm. They find themselves in what used to be Tokyo, now a fragmented landscape of floating landmasses. Enormous whale-like beings glide through the air resembling ethereal jellyfish. On a drifting piece of earth, strange alien plants and creatures have taken hold. A gigantic serpent-like creature and peculiar winged beings populate this new habitat. Inside the vehicle, the boy with spiky hair gazes in wonder at the surreal scenery. At first, he describes the awe-inspiring yet frightening view as utter chaos. As he watches buildings float by, he rephrases it, calling it a miracle instead. The car halts at the edge of a floating cliff, providing a view of the new world. As she steps out, the girl murmurs that this entire realm was contained within Tokyo. Makura mentions that the vehicle cannot proceed further and seeks new orders from his Oho. The trio stands at the cliff's edge, staring into the impossible landscape. A young man with spiky blonde hair questions if it's time to get serious. Massive, crumbling rock formations dominate the desolate and fractured terrain. Seiki's serious expression questions how his friend plans to rescue their companion. A voice without a body asks how the princess could possibly save him in this realm. Akiru stays silent, her face reflecting deep and serious thought. Her eyes widen slightly, a bead of sweat revealing her inner anxiety. A large chunk of earth hovers, surrounded by smaller floating stones. Massive boulders rise from the ground, creating a path for the solitary girl. Saiki expresses his astonishment at the surreal sight, while Makura remains composed. Akiru stares in disbelief, questioning the nature of this strange formation. Makura observes calmly that the path appears to have been created for her. An impossible staircase of floating stones rises into the sky before Akiru. Gazing up at the path, Akiru's face reflects shock and wonder. Her expression hardens with determination as she clenches her fist. A sharp black spear cuts through the air, embedding itself in the stone. Seiki admits his uncertainty about the next steps, while Makura listens. Akaru realizes with certainty that he is calling for her from above. Filled with resolve, she declares that he needs her, and she will respond. Saiki looks surprised, as if she has more to contribute. Makura asserts with unwavering loyalty that he will never oppose her desires. Seki observes with a cool, almost resigned demeanor, a bead of sweat visible. He accepts the circumstances, stating he will accompany her. Akiru offers a small, confident smile, acknowledging his support. In another area, Takashi swiftly cuts through an obstacle with his sword. He stands before a writhing mass of fleshy tubes, cursing the predicament. Frustrated, he grits his teeth, annoyed that the tendrils keep regenerating. His dark-haired companion quietly suggests they explore a different route. The leader dismisses this, convinced they are unwelcome anywhere in this realm. Takashi touches a massive, bone-like pillar, struggling to comprehend the sight. He wonders how this nightmarish landscape could possibly represent their Tokyo. His expression darkens as he contemplates what lies beyond this point. He gazes into a swirling vortex, questioning if Tokyo truly awaits there. The dark-haired leader turns his back to the others, sensing something ahead. A sharply dressed young man with a fierce, angry glare forcefully grips the surface. In a bizarre landscape, a suited man named Saika notes that some humans have weathered the storm. His gaze shifts to a young man, Tokyo, who seems unnervingly composed. With a sinister grin, Tokoyo offers to take care of the remaining humans himself. A monstrous shadowy figure forms around him, whispering temptations about his lingering humanity. It proclaims this as the ideal moment to sever those connections, dark energy surging from his hand. Seki can only observe this transformation, his expression a mix of dread and disbelief. He reacts immediately, pushing his friends back and urgently warning them to flee and hide. A single sneaker touches down softly on a newly formed floating rock. Akiru and her two companions survey their surroundings, realizing how high they've ascended. At the summit, a gigantic, multi-eyed beast appears, which Akaru identifies as their final target. The group stands momentarily paralyzed, bewildered, and uncertain about their next action. Without warning, a tremendous explosion erupts from the creature at the peak. The forceful blast violently shakes their platform, catching them completely off guard. Kiru and her friends can only stare in wide-eyed astonishment at the unforeseen event. Far below, a man named Teach gazes up at the fiery explosion, utterly perplexed. A large question mark captures the surprise and confusion of the onlookers. Teach is shown precariously clinging to a cliff, gripping a small, sharp blade. His face reflects shock and disbelief as he processes the chaos above. From another angle, a student named Takashi voices his own incredulity. His companions scramble for stability on a bizarre, organic terrain. Takashi identifies the unique nature of the flames, linking them to a specific individual. A white-haired man steps out of the smoke, calmly asking if the humans are surprised. He wields his long blade with a cold, resolute demeanor. The entity's two glowing eyes are revealed as it boasts about its remarkable abilities. It explains its capacity to naturally harness the powers of any human summoner it possesses. Seki's eye narrows as he processes this crucial information. He confronts the entity, questioning why it didn't simply seize control of Tokyo from the outset. The entity's dark form reveals a true requirement for Tokoyo's liberation. It clarifies that to unleash his full potential, Tokyo must entirely forsake his humanity. Hikaru and her friends listen, horror dawning on her face. The entity laments its own non-human existence, unable to grasp human emotions. It expresses deep frustration that Tokyo clings so stubbornly to his humanity. Akira's heart pounds heavily as the grim reality sinks in. Another series of massive fiery blasts tears through the chaotic landscape. Takashi watches in shock and dismay as the pandemonium escalates. The entity, speaking through Tokyo, offers a dark interpretation of the situation. It speculates that the unbearable noise from other humans is disrupting Tokyo's mind. Cursing their recklessness, Takashi frantically checks if his friends are still alive. Teach stands ready below, his own blade poised for action. He sheathes his weapon with a sharp click, admitting his own uncertainty. The entity expresses surprise that the humans survived the distortion. It vows to eliminate every last one of them, preventing their approach to Tokoyo. A vicious, wolf-like creature lunges forward in a blur of lethal speed. A woman wielding a massive scythe effortlessly cleaves it in two with a sickening sound. She frantically screams for Seki into her phone, demanding to know his whereabouts. The battlefield teems with grotesque, summoned creatures of all varieties. Another rhythmic heartbeat sound links the monstrous chaos to the entity's will. Seizing her opportunity, Hikaru breaks into a determined sprint, eyes locked on her target. She races up the remaining floating stone steps, heading straight for the peak. Takashi dangles precariously from a rope, his face strained with effort. He catches sight of a frantic carouse and yells her full name in alarm. Worry and recognition twist his features into a mask of fear. Akira spins around, demanding to know their purpose here. Takashi shouts for her to retreat, urgently warning of the imminent peril. She starts to explain Koyo's situation when a sudden noise interrupts her. Teach loses his grip on the cliff, teetering dangerously for a moment. A brief look of shock crosses his face as he begins to plummet. Takashi screams his name in terror, calling him a fool for being reckless. With a heavy impact, Teach crashes onto a lower ledge. One of his friends stares in disbelief, asking what just occurred. Dazed, Teach realizes he's been rescued, resting in a massive, fleshy hand. Takashi gazes in utter disbelief at the surreal sight before him. His companions grip their ropes, their faces reflecting sheer astonishment. Akira's eyes widen, filled with shock and wonder. Her two friends mirror her expression of total bewilderment. A gigantic, semi-transparent giant emerges from the depths, its heavy footsteps resounding. The staggering giant overshadows the floating staircase and the tiny figures on it. The entity observes, puzzled, as Seki prepares for the next clash. Akira's blonde companion now stands atop the giant's enormous shoulder. His eyes are wide, filled with shock and disbelief at his own transformation. The entity wonders how this could be and why it has assumed a human form. Hikaru stands solitary on the platform, gazing upward in silent wonder. The blonde boy's eyes widen in shock at his own impossible change. Akiru stares, a mix of deep concern and surprise on his face. Both Seki and the possessed Tokoyo recognize her, questioning her sudden arrival. Tokoyo's eyes morph, now featuring 3 pupils as he grasps the chilling truth. He proclaims that the girl must be the first to be eliminated. Seki is taken aback by this abrupt and violent shift in his opponent's focus. In a surreal vision, Teach sees Niels in a fleshy realm clutching a unique dagger. His face reflects deep regret and sorrow for the actions he must take. He apologizes to a grotesquely distorted Tokolo, admitting his arrogance and failure. He mourns his overconfidence in attempting to create a human meta-being. He confesses his naive hope that Tokyo could still lead a normal human life. Clutching the dagger, he acknowledges that their shared journey must end tragically. He reflects on Tokoyo's lost potential to become the greatest summoner ever. Seiki listens to this lament, his expression darkening with horror. Teach dismisses this hope as nothing but an unattainable dream. He declares it an unrealistic fantasy given their current dire situation. The monstrous vision of Tokoyo begins to freeze and disintegrate into dust. Teach shifts his focus, struck by a sudden and crucial realization. He confronts Akaru, poised to share his revelation about her and Tokoyo. Akira watches, shocked and bewildered by his fervent words. He reveals that for Tokyo, humanity was a deep yearning, a dream he longed to fulfill. The vision fades, and a suited man, the chief, asks the care if she is okay. Tokoyo, now returned to his human form, appears utterly perplexed by the ordeal. His confusion morphs into despair as he screams, questioning why he is being cast aside. In his torment, he drives a short, curved blade into his own side. His eyes widen, a mix of pain and self-hatred reflected in them. Seki explains that a true human can easily bring down another human. He laughs as his blade phases through Tokoyo's form, bisecting the beast within. Seki unsheathes his weapon, detailing the extraordinary qualities of the disillusioned blade. He slices through a monstrous distortion, sparing the human Tokyo it had overtaken. Tokyo gasps, the impact of the attack sending shockwaves of pain. Seki swiftly shoves the injured Tokoyo into Kaido's waiting arms. The enormous, wolf-like distortion is cleaved in two, its halves collapsing. Seki locks eyes with Kaido, his expression turning serious as he speaks. He places Tokoyo's safety in Kaido's hands, urging him to protect him. As the severed head of the distortion crashes down, the immediate danger dissipates. The close-up reveals the defeated creature's monstrous, gaping maw. Shirashino, a blonde girl, observes the scene with a mix of worry and uncertainty. Kaido now supports the weakened Tokyo while Saiki stands vigilant. In the bizarre, otherworldly terrain, Shirashino stands next to a sharply dressed man. Seiki's face reflects grim determination after the rapid confrontation. Suddenly overwhelmed with worry, Shirashino bolts into a frantic run. A shocked Seki calls out for her to wait, but she keeps going. The suited man steps in front of Seki, politely yet firmly blocking his way. He discloses that Shirashino was brought here for a significant mission, to save the world. Shirashino races through a surreal organic tunnel, her destination unclear. She voices her disbelief, convinced this must be some kind of joke. A teacher, Teach, is seen gripping a distinctive ring dagger, ready for action. In a flash, another student, Takashi, appears, hand outstretched to intervene. Teach is taken aback by the sudden interruption, his hand frozen on the dagger. Takashi urges his teacher to trust in his students and humanity. Shirashino arrives, demanding to know what Takashi is doing to their teacher. He cheekily tells the little princess she should be thankful he showed up. He reveals he prevented Teach from killing Tokoyo, leaving Shirashino stunned. Takashi accuses Teach of planning to murder Tokoyo, but Teach defends his actions. Teach argues that Takashi fails to grasp the seriousness of their predicament. He insists that controlling Tokyo's mind is their only chance to save him. A dark, swirling energy begins to emanate from Shirashino's side. The energy forms into a massive, eye-like vortex of pure darkness. Gazing into the abyss, Shirashino whispers Tokyo's name in recognition. The three of them find themselves trapped in this chaotic, swirling mindscape. Outside, Sekin Kaido watches as Tokyo's human body suddenly goes limp. Tokyo's eyes roll back, his consciousness completely engulfed. His body starts to disintegrate into particles, losing its human form. A close-up reveals his eye, now radiating immense otherworldly power. A colossal, pale, multi-winged monster bursts into existence, emitting a silent roar. The ground shakes as something enormous begins to take shape within the vortex. The remnants of the bisected wolf distortion lie abandoned on the ground. The massive creature continues to materialize, its presence overwhelming the landscape. A voice from the vortex questions how this could have possibly occurred. A single bare human foot lands, sending ripples of energy outward. Onlookers can only stare in awe and confusion at the new arrival. A radiant, ethereal, and naked female figure descends from the sky like a goddess. Two students watch in disbelief, one asking if a goddess has truly appeared. The suited man expresses his weary annoyance at this unforeseen turn of events. Inside the vortex, Shirashino and Takashi gaze on in utter confusion. The chaotic swirl of the mindscape envelops them entirely. Shirashino, flushed and irritated, begins to address her companions. Furiously, she demanded to know what kind of being Takashi had summoned from the sky. Equally perplexed, he questions the unexpected arrival above. Shirashino stomps her foot in frustration as the teacher inquires about the situation. Confused, Teach shouts for an explanation regarding the chaos unfolding. Adjusting his glasses, Takashi prepares to share a detail that Teach overlooked. He highlights that Shirashino's appearance coincided with something crucial. Initially, Tokyo manifested in human form to greet her. Takashi discloses that Tokyo is fervently trying to reclaim his humanity. Despite his twisted form, he battles to regain his human essence. Teach stands speechless, stunned by this pivotal revelation. Shirashino gestures toward Tokyo's struggling, distorted figure. Outside, the goddess and the monster reach for one another, reflecting their inner turmoil. Shirashino raises the handkerchief, presenting it as evidence. She tells the warped Tokyo that it symbolizes his humanity, asking if he recalls. Gritting her teeth, she feels her patience wearing thin with the situation. From outside, the suited man commands Teach to eliminate the colossal monster. Teach realizes that this is the form Tokyo truly desires. He comprehends that this is the ideal self that Tokyo envisioned. A vision of Tokoyo and Shirashino holding hands flashes in his mind. Teach understands this is the moment when Tokyo's dream can materialize. Blushing, Shirashino tells Tokoyo she gets what he desires. She tells his distorted form to stop looking at her like that. With a sigh, she states she will only do this once. Gently, she cradles the monstrous Tokoyo's face and kisses him. The giant goddess and the monster share a kiss, erupting in blinding light. Shirashino pulls back from the now human Tokyo, teasing his astonished expression. She mutters that he always overreacts to her actions. A new chapter unfolds, set against the backdrop of modern Tokyo. 3 months later, two men stroll through a sterile corporate corridor. Inside an office, McCabe learns he has been declared innocent and can retain his job. He expresses his gratitude, relieved by the favorable news. Rindo clarifies that despite the outcome, they attempted to have him dismissed. Seiki remarks that no one would believe the expansion they experienced. He explains it's being dismissed as an exaggerated fever dream. He muses that considering how normal everything seems now, who could blame them? Seiki struggles to accept that Tokyo has simply returned to normal. He presses for further details, a serious expression on his face. Rindo appears hesitant to reveal what truly transpired. Seiki's main concern is the fate of Oho Shirashino. Rindo and Saiki share a tense silence in the office. Stressed, Rindo admits it's a complex issue to explain. She confesses she isn't even sure where to start the tale. At a cafe, Takashi and Shirashino sit together at a table. Shirashino taps her fingers on her arm, displaying her impatience. Takashi complains that they are finally together, yet she seems distant. Annoyed, she urges him to focus on their date instead. He brushes off her comment as a joke, claiming she knows he's gullible. A footstep is heard as someone approaches their table. Tokoyo arrives with drinks, cheerfully asking what they were discussing. Shirashino quickly brushes off his question, saying it was nothing significant. A young woman with straight blonde locks inquires if her friend finally purchased the item. A boy with dark hair, Tokoyo, confirms he has, presenting her with a large matcha cream frap. He shifts his gaze to a spiky-haired blonde boy sitting at their table. Tokoyo recites the boy's absurdly lengthy and detailed coffee order, catching him off guard. Shirashino, the blonde girl, proclaims that Tokyo's own simple small drink is just right. Nijikawa, the spiky-haired boy, announces he has finished setting up and high-fives Tokoyo. As they rise, Shirashino mentions she has nothing to relay, prompting Tokyo to ask about himself. Nijikawa grins, holding a pair of glasses, ready to leave with a message. Tokyo appears sincere, confessing that his request to repair a broken bond may be tough. He wants Nijikawa to inquire if their relationship can revert to its former state. The individual in question, Kaido, stands alone on a school rooftop deep in thought. Suddenly, a voice calls out Kaido's name, interrupting his contemplation. He turns to see his teacher, a man with long, dark hair, approaching him. The teacher explains he must tell Kaido not to leap from the rooftop. He mentions Kaido's involvement in Tokyo's release and urges him to stop self-blaming. Kaido clarifies that his teacher has misunderstood. He never planned to jump. The teacher looks puzzled, questioning why someone would stand alone on a rooftop otherwise. He casually suggests that an ordinary person like Kaido might contemplate such an act. The small creature perched on the teacher's shoulder scolds him for his thoughtless remark. The teacher apologizes, admitting he struggles to understand humans and is learning names. Kaido brushes it off, explaining he was merely enjoying the idea of being average. His teacher listens with curiosity as Kaido prepares to elaborate. Kaido admits it's embarrassing but begins to share his experience when Garden took over. He recalls hearing a voice in his mind that provided him with a sense of relief. The voice offered a straightforward perspective rooted in pure, unfiltered hatred for the summon. He explains that at that moment he felt a certain way about it. He realized his intense worldview stemmed from nothing but common hatred. But moments later, upon opening his eyes, he faced a new reality. He perceived his own power as a mere flicker against this new truth. He began to believe in a world where humans and the distorted could coexist. He thinks that if such a world could genuinely exist, something beautiful could unfold. The possibility is illustrated as a summon joyfully offers rare fruits to students. Kaido expresses his wish to see more of that world while his teacher observes. He thanks his teacher for his concern and prepares to leave, clutching an otherworldly fruit. The teacher, slightly flustered, bids him goodbye, saying he will see him in class. The rooftop door shuts with a thud as Kaido exits, leaving his teacher behind. The teacher asks his small companion what just occurred, but the creature is clueless. In an office, an official named Makabe expresses relief that Tokyo isn't viewed as a threat. A woman counters that Shirashino is crucial for maintaining Tokoyo's humanity. Makabe notes that her statement suggests the two will eventually be separated. A blonde man, Saiki, reveals the plan to send Tokoyo away for common-sense training. Once Tokyo reaches a state of normalcy, the next phase of the plan will begin. The ultimate aim is to force Tokoyo to sever all ties with Shirashino. Numerous surveillance teams have been dispatched to monitor them and prevent distortions. The woman asserts that Shirashino's safety is their top priority, allowing for immediate action. Makabe scoffs at this, prompting the woman to react with visible anger. He apologizes but insists that neither of them truly comprehends Shirashino. Seki and the woman are taken aback by his confident and dismissive claim. Makabe argues that Shirashino is not as fragile as they think she is. He then asserts that while she doesn't require protection, he is the one who does. He discloses his real identity as a being summoned from another realm. A flashback reveals his gratitude towards a young Shirashino and a team of scientists. He narrates how Shirashino rescued him during a perilous experiment. He emphasizes that her role as an observer that day was vital. Without her, he knows he would have been eliminated by summoners like them. Gazing at the city, he contemplates their past in light of their current predicament. He concludes that Shirashino is not what they think she is. On the street, Tokoyo and Shirashino stroll together, sipping their drinks. Their peaceful walk is disrupted by Takashi, who loudly complains about their delay. He sarcastically questions if they had time for a cafe during his training. Tokoyo is puzzled, wondering what Takashi is even doing there. Takashi turns to Shirashino, frustrated that she didn't inform Tokoyo of the plan. Sure, she clarifies that she did mention the device she's wearing. Takashi worries aloud that revealing too much could lead to trouble as observers are present. Inu Makura, part of the surveillance team, suspects Takashi might be getting bullied. An agent from Green Team reports that the target has connected with Takashi. Inu Makura listens to the update through his earpiece, looking weary. Another agent clarifies that Takashi is a friend, not a threat. Takashi jokes about getting Shirashino's leftovers, much to his friend's disgust. He brings up the idea of an indirect kiss while his friend urges him to stop. The surveillance team notes that Green Team is preparing to intervene. An agent intentionally collides with Takashi, spilling a drink on his uniform. Takashi yells at the man for his clumsiness as Tokoyo and Shirashino observe. The agent drops to his knees, apologizing profusely, creating a major distraction. Shirashino tells Tokoyo it's time to leave, urging him to apologize as well. She grabs Tokoyo's hand and they make a run for it, escaping the scene. The surveillance team is stunned as their target begins to flee. Takashi watches them leave with a knowing grin as the agents realize their blunder. Inu Makura reacts with amusement while an agent instructs his team to keep them in sight. Seki and the woman listen to the chaos unfolding through their communication devices. Seki receives the news via phone, his expression shifting to disbelief. The woman is shocked to learn that Shirashino has escaped with Tokoyo. Makabe reflects that sometimes a fledgling must be allowed to soar and explore. As they run, Tokoyo voices his concern that this isn't a wise decision. Shirashino angrily tells him not to call their pursuers monitors. Tokoyo fears their actions will cause his dangerous distortion to spiral out of control. Suddenly, Shirashino skids to a stop, abruptly halting their escape. She tells him to look at something she's holding up for him. She reminds him of the world view measuring device she previously showed him. The device on her wrist is inactive, indicating no leaking distortions from him. She explains this proves he can manage his worldview and could summon if permitted. Takoyo recalls his practice sessions at the dorms under his friend's watchful gaze. Shirashino shatters this notion, confessing they lied and he's forbidden from summoning. He realizes in horror that he has violated even more of their strict regulations. Just then, their pursuers spot them in the distance, forcing them to move again. As they escape, Takoyo laments that he was just beginning to feel normal. Kuroshino challenges his notion of normalcy, pointing out his restrictions and constant surveillance. She insists his distortion isn't a threat, contrary to what the summoners think. Takoyo demands to know how she can be so sure about their world. She reveals that the restored city of Tokyo was actually summoned by him. A young man named Tokyo stands in shock as a girl reveals he was the architect of his own world. In a memory, she addresses his ghostly figure, uncertain about his past. A tremendous surge of energy knocked her back, yet she observed everything closely. She found herself drifting through a chaotic whirlwind teeming with countless realms. Every creature and landscape within the vortex moved with a distinct intention. She understood that everything was being restored to its rightful place, driven by his vast power. Among the many beings returning home was a colossal wolf-like creature with multiple eyes. A whole pack of these creatures was seen navigating the cosmic currents back to their origins. She realized that the root of this entire event stemmed from his potent singular desire. In the present, she affirms that his wish was to become a summoner for others. His abilities enable the summoned to either return home or traverse freely between worlds. Shirashino boldly leaps over a barrier, opting to challenge the established norms. She clarifies that he summoned Tokyo back because he longed for their return home. A dark-haired man and his small companion sit on a bench pondering the situation. Two serious summoners confess that his extraordinary world-altering abilities genuinely frighten them. The dark-haired man smirks knowingly, aware of the trepidation his powers evoke. A suited man peers through the blinds, insisting they must clarify their intentions. Another man observes, recognizing the necessity to showcase their new direction to everyone. In the distance, their pursuers catch sight of them and begin to close in rapidly. Shirashino proclaims they need to demonstrate to the world that his summoned reality is magnificent. Takoyo watches, a bead of sweat revealing his unease about this daring plan. He glances at a do not enter sign, questioning this new path of rebellion. Shirashino confirms his thoughts with a firm, unwavering agreement about their new strategy. His eyes widen as he inquires if this is now their new approach to things. He takes a small, resolute step forward, committing to the course she has outlined. She extends her hand, assuring him she won't be afraid as long as he stands by her. As their hands connect, a surge of energy flows through them, and they resolve to take action. Together, they unleash their power, declaring their intent to show everyone their unique path. Their faces radiate joyful determination, prepared to confront their future side by side. A hand gestures in gratitude towards the creative team and the audience. The air crackles with tension as the two sides prepare for the inevitable clash.